like I think for you, you can say that you're not natural, maybe discuss compounds, but regarding what you're doing exactly into detail, it's probably better not to.
Yeah,
Same as with Williams, same as with everybody else at the
yeah,
power ranks, because once you start doing that, people will copy, and let's be honest, 99% of the people will not get the same results
true.
or even look remotely close to you.
Yeah, and
So
then
you
they
have a
won't
very
believe it.
unique Vigorous podcast here, joined with the one and only Wesley Vissers from Holland. We're going to do this in English, though. We're not going to talk any Dutch, so everybody can
Nope.
follow along. Before we get this podcast started, I want to ask you one thing, Wesley. Are you natty or not?
Ooh, that is actually a very interesting question. Well, as I'm a professional bodybuilder, as I have actually said the last couple of times, people have asked me, no professional bodybuilder is natural,
All right.
including myself.
There you go. So we got that out of the way, right? My channel's about performance enhancing drugs mostly. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Let's get started with you're in Vienna now, meeting your coach. Can you tell me a little bit
Yes.
about that?
Yeah, so I'm in Vienna, and so my coach, Stefan Kienzl, lives in Austria, close to and on the outskirts of Vienna. But there's a very good gym in Vienna, and we did some workouts together. And since he is my coach, I do think it's important to meet face to face every now and then, because pictures only tell half of the story. Especially when someone sees me, especially for the first time outside of social media, they are then confronted with that I'm quite tall. So that gives them
Yeah.
a different perspective to what I
Yeah.
actually look like. Because, a picture by yourself, you never really know how you look next to other people. So that's very important. And of course, the training style that
Mm.
Stefan executes is very different compared to my own. Even though that I don't train in a wrong way, when he trains, it's very intense. Really, the muscle ache I feel in my chest and my back right now, which is rare for me, is quite intense. So he really knows how to push myself, and I do think it's good to remind yourself how to properly engage the muscles with less weight, which is what I'm, always an advocate of, and to show that on video and to really have some nice content together. And the face-to-face meetings it just gives a lot more information about what to do next, to talk about the next competition and so forth. So it was a great time here, and I'll be leaving again tomorrow morning. So yeah,
Okay, so you're right on time for one podcast before you leave.
exactly. It's a perfect
All right.
fit.
All right. So when did you start working together? Was that before the last Olympia with Stefan Kienzl?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
so we started working together for the last Olympia. So the qualification I did for the previous Olympia was the Poland Pro, and I
Right.
prepped myself for it. So I prepped myself for a couple of competitions, and I won a few pro shows prepping myself, which is what I wanted to prove to myself. Okay, you want to have some base knowledge yourself
Right.
before trusting a coach to take over. Otherwise, you can't really discuss anything with him on
Yeah.
a level playing field.
Right.
So
Then you
that was
can
very
get
important to me.
right. So you know your body. You can give some good feedback. Like this was working in the past. This wasn't working. This I'm not really sure about. And then instead of trying to figure it out with a coach from the start, you already have a good foundation. And you turned pro by yourself, correct? And you won a couple pro shows, or did you work with
Yeah,
somebody in the past?
I did work with Ferdi Robijns from Belgium
Okay.
before.
All right.
I turned pro under him, and mainly
Mhm.
because I was very unaware how the pro ranks actually worked. Because right
Ah, yeah.
when I wanted to do my pro show, that's when the two organizations split apart. So the IFBB Pro League and the IFBB Elite.
Yeah.
So right in 2018, the first classic physique competition ever came to Europe, and we decided to do that. And
Mhm.
Ferdi had a lot of connections also in the USA. So how does it really go when you go to the USA to do your pro show, to do the Olympia? I had no idea at all. I've never been to the USA in my life. So having someone in my corner like that was very instrumental to feeling comfortable throughout the entire process, to my first Olympia that I ever did. So, and he was also very knowledgeable, but there comes a point where you start to look for other people, but in between him and Stefan, I did most of the competitions all by myself because I needed that for myself. So I haven't really had many coaches at all. And every time that I do pick a coach, I want to make sure that they are very knowledgeable, and that whenever I listen to them, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. There's nothing weird going on. What I was saying is that Ferdi Robijns was my first coach.
Hmm.
And then in between, I had no coach. And then now I have Stefan. And every time that I
Yeah.
look for a coach, the first thing that's actually important to me is they have to have a nice personality with
Hmm.
no ego attached, so that they
Oh,
actually have a passion for helping the bodybuilder, the athlete, rather than doing it for their own career. Even though, of course, that's always going to be important as a coach as well. I mean, if passion comes first, you always know the result will follow as well. And that's the feeling I have with all the coaches I've had until now. And Stefan is just the next level, as he's experienced with a lot of Olympia athletes, but also classic physique athletes. So
yeah.
that's really what drove me to him. And once we connected, it really, it really went well. So
Okay.
last Olympia, that's the first time he helped me. And of course, it's always going to be figuring out each other's method of working and how my body responds to his advice. So the Olympia was just a tasting, and now the
Mhm.
next competition is going to be the true result of our
Right.
collaboration. So I'm very excited.
So now you had a proper off season together. And was it when you both went to the Olympia? Was that the first time he saw you in real life? And before that, it was coaching like through photos and text messages and that kind of stuff.
Yes, that's true. Mexico 2 weeks in advance. And it
Uh-huh.
gave me more time to spend with my coach before the actual competition, because we both went to Cancun in Mexico.
Oh,
And
that's right. Yeah,
pretty, pretty,
you had to stay over there, right? For a while to with the travel restrictions and that kind of stuff. So you had to stay there for two
yeah.
weeks, and you met him there first.
Yes, yes, I met him there first. We and actually Urs was there as well.
Right.
The fourth ranked classic physique athlete right now,
Great physique.
and
Yeah, great physique.
yeah, he's incredible. And we all worked out at the same gym there, so it was an awesome vibe to get to know each other. And yeah, it just felt really good. And well, I thought I was pretty lean, and he was feeling like in my love handle, he was like, "Oh, there's a little fat here," and then I
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, okay, this I need this kind of feedback, because
Right.
sometimes you could be too soft for yourself when you look in the pictures and you're seeing, okay,
Mhm.
I can see the V taper. I don't really see the fat. Maybe it's
Right.
water." But if you have someone experienced, he can tell you, no, that's fat, and you gotta do the extra cardio. You gotta go lower, and that's what I did,
Yeah.
and that's the best conditioning ever I achieved at that Olympia for sure.
No, I think that was one of your best looks at the last Olympia, and I'm sure with an entire off season. And do you still need to qualify for this Olympia, or are you
Yes,
already qualified? Oh, still have to qualify, right?
I
Okay.
still, yeah, I still need to qualify, and I'm thinking about doing a show relatively close to Olympia. But
Mhm.
since last time, I also did multiple shows, and I actually enjoyed doing multiple shows, allowing my shape to improve with every show. That I think I'll be doing multiple shows this time as well,
Right.
around the end of September. And the
Right.
exact shows I will still announce, because I'm not
Of course.
exactly sure yet.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be very fun, because I'm very excited to show once again the improvements, and with the experience we learned from the Olympia, I think the package will be much better as well.
Right, right, right. So in a highlight of recent events, like with Cedric dying and all that stuff in the open competition, I wanted to get you, a little bit on board to see what you've been doing in the past for health screening, what
Hmm.
is available in Holland, and what do you think this sport direction need to go? Because we don't see any of these issues in classic physique. Like you're able to still pull a vacuum. I mean, that's one of the giveaways, right? Classic
Yeah.
physique, you're able to draw a nice deep vacuum, and in open, it's coming back, but there was a time in the 90s and early 2000s when a vacuum was pretty much impossible in open bodybuilding. So do you think with the direction that bodybuilding is going in now, and a little bit of the debt and the health issues that come along with the open bodybuilding, do you see that coming in classic physique? Do you think that's going to be an issue maybe 10 years from now, 15 years from now?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, because I have heard people also saying that this is a result of the chronic bodybuilding lifestyle that only
Mhm.
now is starting to become visible. in combination with being heavy for like 10 plus years, like
Right.
extremely heavy, like close to the 300-pound mark, or heavy for your height, for example,
Right.
because that's also something that is very often neglected. They say, "Oh, I weigh 300 pounds," but some people are like 1 foot taller than the next person. I mean,
Yeah.
that does make a little bit of a difference, because I
Absolutely.
also weigh like over 280 sometimes in the off season,
Mm.
but I can still see good definition because I'm quite tall compared to someone else like 5'8" or something who is 280.
Right.
That's a huge bodybuilder, of course. And for
Yeah.
me,
Right. Right.
it's for me, it's still a classic physique shape. And
Well, you could still
I
pull a vacuum at 280. I see it on your Instagram all
yeah,
the time. I mean, you guys still got a beautiful shape, and obviously your digestion is on point. I think it's
yeah,
mostly has to do with the body mass index. So it's your height
hmm
and the weight, right? And you, because
yeah.
I'm 5'9", so that's about 175 centimeters, short for a Dutch guy. But you're how tall? 190 or what, 2 meters?
No, I'm 190 centimeters. So
Yeah.
that's officially measured. But sometimes at a competition, I'm
All right.
189. And then I
Mhm.
fall in the 6'2" bracket instead of six
Oh
foot three
no.
bracket. And then my weight goes down, I believe, by like 6 pounds or something that I'm allowed to weigh. So it's like what, like you can't even really see it, but the
Yeah.
weight difference is pretty enormous that you're allowed for. It's 4 kilos, I believe. So right now I'm allowed to weigh 112 kilos max on
Hmm.
stage. And if I'm 1 centimeter taller on the
Hmm.
measuring device that they use, I
Right.
am allowed to weigh 116 kilos, which is a massive
Oh,
difference.
that's a massive
And
difference. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so about half of the time I'm like, okay, I did my best to get below the 112, and I was
Mhm.
easily allowed to weigh more. But
Yeah.
yeah, but that's a big difference there. But you're right. I think in classic physique, the dosages might, to the, if you look at the outside, you might think, oh, they use a lot less.
Mhm.
But in my experience, there are some people who also use quite a lot. And
Okay.
with that come the side effects, of course.
Right.
And now the question is it only the amounts or the amounts combined with the heavy body weights over a
Yeah.
long period of time? Because if you only use higher amounts, but your body simply isn't genetically responding to be heavier than someone else who does respond very well to it, is that
Right.
actually a positive thing or not? So that's for me the question.
Yeah, I think time will tell. Like classic physique hasn't been around that long. You're one of the
Yeah.
earliest pros in that federation.
hmm
I think maybe 10 years from now we can kind of assess if classic physique is a healthier alternative than
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's certainly more pleasing alternative.
hmm
Like when I started bodybuilding at the age of 15, so that's 22 years, 23 years ago, we didn't have classic. So
No.
that open bodybuilder was the only thing you could really aspire to, and everything else was
hmm
smaller. And then you see how much of a roadblock that is, and drug requirement. So I always
Yeah.
said, you know what, maybe this is not for me. But if I had access to classic physique when I was maybe 15, I would inspire to be a classic physique pro.
Yeah.
And not that I have the genetic structure or the makeup for it. I can pull a vacuum, but my waist is still too wide. So I don't think I would ever be a classic physique pro, but it would be something to work towards.
hmm
And that would set myself apart, I think, from right experimenting with particular compounds like insulin, for example, which I
Yeah.
don't think is required for classic physique because you're always on that weight limit. Right. And
Yeah.
you have to pull a vacuum, and even a little bit of insulin use will thicken your waist. So what are you
True.
doing? What are you doing for your digestion to pull that super deep vacuum? Because you did the Nick Strength and Power Classic
Yes.
competition before you
Yeah.
turned pro, right? And
Yeah.
I remember your physique really stood out because you had such a beautiful deep vacuum. So please tell all of your digestion secrets. We need to know.
Yeah. So the biggest thing in digestion is to start at the root cause of indigestion, which is to only eat foods that you know digest well for you. So might sound boring, might sound even intuitive, basically, but a lot of people skip this because
Yeah.
even though they might go for and these are small things, even though they go for the rice, the chicken, the white fish, but then the vegetables could be a very big culprit. Even though broccoli is very healthy, eating too much of it every single day, it will cause gases to form in your intestines, blocking some of the absorption. Then the elimination of that meal will look not pleasant in most
Messy,
cases.
very
Yeah,
messy.
messy. And the same goes with the herbs and the spices that you use. Ultimately, they also come from some vegetable or some other kind of fresh herb, for example, which could be also disagreeing with your digestive system. So one tip that I always have is when people struggle with this is look at the low FODMAP list of foods and only first look at the vegetables. If you're eating vegetables that are in the red area where they are high FODMAP, which means they form quite a lot of gases in your intestines, possibly, just eliminate all of them. And whenever I advise that to some of my clients, they already report to me, oh, I already am bloating a lot less because those vegetables are a big part in my personal diet that I recommend. Vegetables to me are quite important for health and just to be mentally aware every single day. Okay, I have to eat these vegetables because it's healthy and never stray away from that thought process. But if every single day you eat the vegetables that don't agree with you, is going to be messing up your digestion. And over the
For sure.
years, the bloating will actually push against, because the intestines are below the transverse abdominis, and they will push against it, weakening actually the natural tension that they have to keep the stomach in. So over the years, and then you're trying to activate a weakened, thinner, weaker muscle, it's going to be difficult to pull it back in because the strength simply isn't there, and then the connection isn't there either. So even if I'm at the very heaviest in the off season, the vacuum is super easy to do. I feel it. I can use it every single minute of the day. That transverse abdominis muscle responsible for pulling the vacuum, and it's just a second nature to use it because it's strong, and I'm just as aware of that as my bicep, for example. And the only way to do that is by not letting it weaken by constantly being bloated. So maybe also not eating super big meals or leaving more time in between meals to aid digestion. And there are many small things you can also do, like not drink water with your meal, but before your meal and after your meal, but not during the meal, to limit the amount of volume that is inside of your stomach, allow the digestive the acid to be full concentrated to really attack and digest the food in your stomach instead of diluting it with water, for example. So it's a lot of little things.
Do you take any apple cider vinegar or betaine
Yes.
hydrochloride with meals or digestive enzymes? Is that something that you find beneficial for your digestive tract?
You actually helped me with that because I used to drink apple cider vinegar from the bottle. So
Oh
literally,
no. Oh
so
no.
before I used 2 spoons. I used 2
Right.
spoonfuls, drink it before every single meal. But I was like, "Oh, that's cumbersome," because I even did it when I was still in school. So I actually took that entire bottle with me, a glass bottle from, I'm not sure the brand, but the best one
Yeah,
from Mother's.
Bragg's with
Yes,
the mother.
Bragg's. Yes,
Yeah.
that one, because that's what initially Ferdi Robijns, my first coach, recommended to me, and that's what I religiously did with every single meal. But I was like, one day I woke up and my tongue was hurting a lot. I was like, why is it hurting? But it was literally burned by the apple cider vinegar because
Yeah.
I just drank it from the bottle, and I just
Oh wow.
estimated, okay, this is about 2 spoonfuls, and it was just easier to do. It was just less cumbersome to do that instead of measuring it out and messing up
Yes.
on the spoon and messing with
Right.
that acidity all over the place. And
Mhm.
but then I actually started to watch your videos, and you used an apple cider vinegar capsule, which
Yeah.
I first thought, is that even effective? Is it really the essence? But it actually does
Mhm.
work. Just taking 1 or
Yeah.
2 capsules with every single meal, it really
Exactly.
does have the same beneficial effect without the chance of burning your esophagus or your tongue in the
Exactly.
process. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so I used to do the same thing. So I got a big bottle of Bragg's here as well. And then I started drinking it with a straw because after a while you
Oh, yeah.
swirl and like you said, your tongue starts to hurt and your teeth start to hurt, your
Yeah.
gums, because it's just the acid is, yeah, it's so strong. You want it in
Yeah.
your stomach, but none in your mouth.
No,
So
no.
I started drinking it with a straw and then dilute a little bit with cranberry juice and lemon juice, but I found that it wasn't really effective. The lemon juice and the cranberry juice. So I started
Mhm.
drinking it with a straw, but then you need to dilute it in a decent amount of water.
Yeah.
So I found these tablets and I was like, oh, it's so convenient. You open a bottle of tablets and it smells
Yeah,
literally like the strongest apple cider vinegar you've ever drank.
exactly.
So I figured it would be good. And I've been doing that for maybe 4 or 5 years now. And it really helps. I take it with each meal. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
sometimes betaine hydrochloride. But I found that the betaine gives me a little bit of like acid reflux and acid burps. So I only take those with big beef meals. And otherwise, I just take the apple cider vinegar with all meals, and it removes all of the acid reflux, right? That's sometimes a
Yeah.
problem with us when you eat a lot or you take some of the
Mhm.
the PEDs that can cause acid reflux. So it solves it almost entirely. It's a great supplement to take. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really great, and especially because it's pretty cheap also. And
Yeah.
that's what I didn't expect, because you can last quite a long time with a big bottle, but
Mhm.
with like the actual liquid bottle, the real brand you want to get, that is quite expensive if
Mhm.
you do it every single day. So comparatively, I would go now always with those supplements for sure.
Yeah. And I think you have to make a trip to Turkey at one point to redo your teeth. With
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
do the crowns, or what is it called?
Yeah. I know
Where
what you
they make
mean.
it look nice again, and
Yeah.
because it will dissolve it for sure. Yeah, it will
Yeah.
dissolve it for
Yeah.
sure.
It will.
So you
Yeah.
basically followed an elimination diet to make sure that all the foods that you eat. I agree with you. No water with meals. Apple cider vinegar tablets. Any other secrets that you can share with us?
I actually don't use digestive enzymes,
Hmm.
and that's because if you use digestive enzymes, and if this is based in the actual truth or not, not entirely sure, but it does make sense. If you take something from the outside in, just with the PEDs, for example, your own body
Yeah,
will
should
stop
stop.
producing as much.
Yeah,
So if you always rely on digestive enzymes, your body will then produce less, because it's like, oh, I'm already getting them, so I'm not going to use
yeah,
this energy, this effort to create them myself. And the problem is, when you then stop the digestive enzymes for a day, then your
it's done.
digestion is even worse than before. So that's not something that you want to put in practice for a long time. Otherwise, you will be reliant on it for the rest of your life,
Mhm.
literally. And you don't know how quickly it does return when you do stop, especially when you've been doing it
Takes
for a longer time.
takes a while.
It's not
Yeah.
something I've been doing. Yeah.
I've had a client one time at the World Championships level. That's the WBPF, and he wanted to have a flat stomach. So he'd take like a broad spectrum digestive enzyme with everything, right? Even to digest lactose, like lactobacillus or bacillus, and all that stuff. Which, if you're not taking any right, dairy products, it's not really required. So we take
Hmm.
this super enzyme supplement the entire way through the prep, 2 tablets with each meal, and then he was afraid for water retention, so he stopped it during the carb up. Those
Oh,
carbs went nowhere.
yeah.
So in the end, he ended up on stage. Yeah, his stomach was here because
Yeah.
it didn't come out anymore. It didn't digest properly. He was flat, and
Wow.
right, all the food stayed in his stomach. So you really have to be careful in that sense,
Yeah.
and make sure you stay on top of your digestion. I found that like certain foods you can eat semi raw, like not chicken, not
Hmm.
eggs. Eggs is risky, right? Salmonella and stuff. But beef, if you sear it, or tuna or salmon, if you just sear
Hmm.
it and you keep the inside reasonably uncooked, then there are digestive enzymes in the food itself that actually
Mm.
help to digest the food for you. So
That's
if you go with
yeah.
raw salmon or raw beef or partially seared, then right, food rots over a period of a week or
Hmm.
two or a couple of days, and those are the same enzymes that your body can utilize to digest the food for you. So you have the apple cider vinegar, right, the digestive enzymes which are already in the food itself, which
Yeah.
work in synergy with the digestive enzymes that your body secretes. And I found that was really, really beneficial, especially during the off season when, right, you have a serving of steak or tuna or salmon or another fish, and you had a ton of rice, right, to grow, and maybe a little bit of fat, to slow the digestion. But I felt that it oh, there's a better way to do it that way. Of course, during prep, it might digest too fast. So you might want to cook your food instead. Yeah, because otherwise it just goes through you, even
Mhm.
with vegetables. So there's always a little bit of a timing issue. And you can take things like, what is it called? Pineapple or papaya, a little bit with
Yeah,
each meal. That also has a
that's what I wanted to
digestive
say.
enzyme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pineapple because of the bromelain,
Mhm.
papaya because of papa papain,
Papain,
papain. Yeah.
papain.
No
Our Dutch
idea how to say
accent
it in English.
strikes again.
And also kiwi, which maybe
Mhm.
some people know now. I've been using kiwis for years, and keeping the
Mhm.
skin on. There's digestive enzymes
Oh,
within the
really?
kiwi flesh, but also
Uh-huh.
keeping the skin on will also help provide even more nutrients and make it an even
Oh,
more
wow.
complete source to eat. And that's also
Uh-huh.
something I learned from my first coach. Is just those little
Okay.
things that you don't forget and you keep in your diet.
Right.
And to me, it's
Uh-huh.
just whenever you, just like you're saying, if you can use the food itself, the nutrients within the food you can't replicate with anything else. I mean, it's
Okay.
literally, we are designed to eat that food. So our
Mhm.
bodies, they know how to use those nutrients. And a supplement usually is an isolated form, which on its
Right.
own does something, but without the other nutrients available, it will never
Mhm.
complete the complete job that it should be doing.
Yeah.
So that's why vegetables and fruits, in my opinion, are so important, to provide those extra nutrients to do all the stuff necessary for your metabolism. And yeah, for
And
example.
I saw that during the off season you eat quite a ton of food, right? Or what do you get up to? 5,000, 6,000 calories or more?
In between 5,000 and 5,500.
Mhm.
And that's because the intra workout differs depending on the workout day. Of course, on a leg day, it has more carbs compared to a chest day, for example.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's quite high in calories. And now this is the first true off season where I eat clean pretty much all the time. Because in
Good.
the last off season, which was in 2019, actually, so quite a while ago, I really wanted to push my body weight just to see, okay, let's see what happens if I actually do this.
To
So I really pushed my,
330.
well, no, not that high, but I went to 134 kilos,
Oh, wow.
and that's when I did lose the definition, and I did see
Yeah.
an amount of fat that was a little over what I would suggest other people do. But they say you have to go through that once just to experience it, because
Mhm.
the strength was incredible. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But the only way I was able to achieve that is with foods that are higher in calories and lower in nutrients, unfortunately, because
Yeah.
all of the high nutrient foods are also usually not as dense in calories, so it makes the
Yeah.
volume very big.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so
can't
right
do an
now,
off season on quinoa and
no,
asparagus and kale. That's
no,
impossible.
yeah, I'm,
No, so
yeah,
but the good thing is, like, if during the off season when you're eating a lot of food, right? The even though the food is considered low quality, like low nutritious content, because you're eating so much, you still get your micronutrients this way. Right? You
yeah,
just need more calories to attain this goal.
yeah,
And you know, just the reality of it. And then of course you have your intra workout to kind of supplement
hmm,
your energy expenditure during the workout. Did you start to lose like your waistline during the off season, or were you able to maintain that quite well? Because all the pictures I saw of you, of recently during the off season, I mean, you look full as a house, but the waistline is still intact.
yeah. The only issue that I have with the waistline is my love handles, the
Mm,
actual literal waistline there.
yeah.
That's where the most fat accumulates during the off season for me. So, for example, when doing a back double bicep, the V taper isn't as good, but that's why
Hmm.
I want to create those massive lats to
Yeah.
offset
Compensate.
anything. Yeah, to compensate for that. And then the V taper is still there, but you can see it's not as uh, lean, basically as narrow as during the contest, obviously. But yes, the waistline is still acceptable. When I do a vacuum, it still looks pretty much like it would be in pre-contest,
Mhm.
except for the definition of the abdominals. And that pretty much is the only difference, because when you do a vacuum, you pull up your entire stomach and the fat actually disappears
Right.
visually as well.
That's why I
But
always
if
did
it,
it in the off season too. You
yeah,
look way better. Your obliques go
yes,
in a little bit, your lats still get wide. and then
Yeah.
you can create a little bit of a taper, even though as soon as you relax, you hope that the cameras are off, because
Exactly.
then it just falls down, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
know. So did you feel that you improved your lats and your quads by going up in a higher body weight? Because that's usually what I recommend my guys when I was still coaching. Said if you really want to improve weaker body parts, you have to go, heavy body weight,
Yeah.
and whether that's 330 pounds at your height, or 250 pounds is the guy that's way shorter. Like 250, 260 would be heavy for me at 175
Hmm.
centimeters, 5'9".
Yeah.
So you really have to go by, not really by the scale, but what is considered heavy for you. So did you feel that your legs came up a little bit, and your lats, did they improve over the last couple of months?
Yeah, for sure. The back has improved a whole lot
Mm.
again. I just got a very good connection with the back. When I was training with Stefan, he has a lot of experience feeling the back with people, because he's training people. He's feeling whether they're actually
Right.
contracting the muscle. And he says he felt the feeling he had in my back, that he felt the muscles like in the middle, in the upper part, in the
Mhm.
middle, where you truly want to create that thickness.
Right.
That's there was a really good feeling there, and a really heavy weight I'm able to pull only with that portion of the
Right.
muscle, where the contraction is actually taking care of most of the thickness
Mhm.
accrual there, because without the squeeze, you're never going to create that thickness there. And
Yeah.
so the back really improved, and the legs as well. The total leg mass has never really been a problem, but it's been the shape, and that's very
Yeah.
difficult to
Mhm. Yeah.
to create when you're, especially when you have, when you're taller. For most tall bodybuilders in general, the sweep simply isn't really
It's
there.
very difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult
Yeah.
to. And
So
the shorter bodybuilders, you're going against, Urs, who's what, 175 also, my
no,
height.
actually, Earth on pictures looks shorter than in real
Mhm.
life. I
Oh,
think he's
really?
like 182 or 83 centimeters.
Oh,
So
really?
he's
Okay.
actually, yeah,
Because
an
he's got a nice
average.
sweep,
Yeah,
He's
he's
got a
got a
nice
very good
sweep. Yeah.
legs. Very,
Mhm.
very good lower body in general. Like
Yeah.
everything is very good. So his body responds really well to that training. So the
Mhm.
only way for me to create the biggest possible sweep is to create the biggest possible legs. So going
Yeah.
all the way down, full range of motion, really be honest with yourself. Am I going as deep as possible? Am I not
Mhm.
feeling any joint pain here? Is this the right movement for me?
Right.
And for example, in my gym, we have a belt squat,
I
and
saw
that
that. Yeah.
really, yeah,
Looks
that
super
allows me
nice.
to go to the max depth until I
Yeah.
physically can't go deeper, and
Mhm.
zero back problems. Because that, I believe, is the issue I've had years back,
Oh,
not
right.
creating those thick, big legs compared to the upper body, because the lower back couldn't keep up with the weights I was
Right.
supposed to be doing. And that was a long time a problem. And that's because I thought, oh, the back squat, that's the way to create those legs. The heavy front squats, and really the Ronnie Coleman exercises, basically. But after trying that for many years, I was like, I just don't get a good connection. It's more of a full body movement. It doesn't isolate the quads. So doing the belt squat, the reverse banded hack squats, for example, even Smith machine squats, reverse banded, I can go a lot deeper, I can go a lot further, and I feel the legs failing before my
Mhm.
stamina failing, and that's to me
Right.
the key to
That's a
create those
big
bigger legs.
difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you bought some equipment just to fulfill this off season and bring
Yeah.
up your legs. Yeah, but that's good because you have your own home gym,
Yeah.
and I mean you got a whole empire in Holland, which I think is amazing because I
Thank
found
you.
there's so many wrong. Yeah, it's really because I'm from Holland too,
Yeah.
and setting up a business there and all the roadblocks that and the hoops you have to go through
Mm.
is it was enough for me to say, okay, forget about it. I'm going to move somewhere else
Yeah.
and set up my
Yeah.
business in another country. But you were able to get a gym and you got a clothing line and you've basically got your whole family employed.
Yeah,
It's
that's
honestly
incredible.
amazing. It's amazing to see as somebody who's also from Holland, knowing how difficult it is. So tell me a little bit about this backstory about your gym and your clothing line and how that all came to fruition.
So the first thing I ever did to make some money within the bodybuilding industry is create a YouTube channel. I did that
Yeah, you
in,
were one
I
of the
believe,
first. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first, especially within classic, because my
Mhm.
my very first video is already called Classic Bodybuilding, a workout for classic bodybuilding or something like that.
Right.
1.5 years before classic physique even existed. So I
Should have
already had an idea.
trademarked it.
Yeah, exactly. So it couldn't be fake. I couldn't be fake about it because
Yeah.
I literally said, this is what I want. I compared the exercises to what Arnold used to do. I thought that was the
Mhm.
ideal physique, and that's what I wanted to emulate. And at that time, I actually was a super heavyweight bodybuilder in the Netherlands,
Right.
competing for the Dutch nationals.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't officially a classic bodybuilder at all, but I really had my passion around classic bodybuilding. So the YouTube channel was the first thing, and I just kept posting. And the reason for even creating it is my mom told me, well, why don't you create a YouTube channel instead of trying to explain everything individually to people in the gym?
Yeah.
Because if you create a
Mhm.
channel, you can just show them the video. And if they ask for a back workout, hey, here's a video, try it out, and you're done. So that's
Right.
what I did. But because I was in my very first video, I was already prepping for a show. So the look was pretty good. I was
Mhm.
young. I was
Mhm.
pretty muscular for that age, but I wasn't
Mhm.
aware that I was one of the only ones back then that looked like that on YouTube. So it blew up quite quickly. And back
Good.
then you had guys like Louis Marco, if you still remember him.
I
He
met him in Dubai with
Oh, really? Nice.
yeah, with Rush for Bar. We'd spend like 2
Oh,
hours at Train SF bullshitting about the sport. It was great. That was right
cool.
after William Bonac gave him a little
Oh,
bit of a,
yeah.
you be
Yes, yes.
careful, welcome to the real world. It was literally the day after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of
So
controversy around him for sure. But
yeah, he kind of fell off, I think, after that.
yeah, I haven't seen
Yeah.
him. I rarely see him post anything at all anymore. But
Yeah.
he
You got a
was
dose
one
of
of the guys.
reality. You got a dose of reality. I mean,
Yeah,
the real
yeah.
world is tougher than YouTube. And William, you don't fuck with William, dude.
Oh, now you don't
You don't
wanna
fuck with
you
William.
don't wanna mess with him. You don't wanna mess with him.
No, no. He's
He's a
good
real
people though.
yeah, he's a very
Yeah.
genuine person. He's awesome. I also met him a couple of times, trained with him. He's
Mhm.
a very kind person, very open, very family oriented. So it's
Mhm.
it's a true gentleman basically.
He's a
Um,
great guy. We used to train at
yeah.
Spartacus in Almere.
Oh
It's
yeah.
the gym's closed now, so after that, everybody moved to sport and fitness. But
Hmm.
after it's 15, 16 years ago, I moved to Thailand. But we used to train at the same gym with Khalid Al Sinawi when Dutch bodybuilding was kind of small. We had
Yeah.
Barry DeMay,
Hmm.
and that's about it. And now we have you and lots more, right? And William Bonac and a lot more guys on the Olympia states that are from
Yeah.
Holland. So that's good to see. So you started your YouTube channel back in the golden era of
Yeah.
YouTube before it
Yes.
was monetized.
Yeah, but actually, I start if I would have started 1 year prior, because there is
Mhm.
something called the apocalypse. So the
Yeah,
apocalypse of
that's
the
right. Yeah.
advertisers. And
Mhm.
before that happened, you could make a lot more money with your videos. So you could easily put like one or two extra zeros behind the
Yeah.
number you get each month before that. And after that,
Mhm.
it wasn't as easy anymore. So,
Yeah.
but any money that came from YouTube, I was like, whoa, you can actually make money with this, just showing
It's
yourself
great.
working out.
Yeah.
And that's when I kept being motivated to show more and more. And Louis Marco picked me up. He showed me on his channel, and
Mhm.
I believe he had like 200,000 followers back then or something, or at least it
Yeah, it
was
was huge.
substantial for
Yeah.
me at the time. And when I was still at school then, and I went to school, and people at school told me, "Hey, did you see Louis Marco posted you?" And
Oh
that
wow.
that really started the 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 reality of being recognized
Yeah.
outside of your
So
own
yes,
local area.
that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great. It's so surreal, right? But because like I've been in Thailand for 15 years and I've only been on YouTube maybe the last 2 or 3 years. And
Yeah.
then all the guys on, oh, yeah, I saw you on Derek's YouTube channel. So yeah, I've been
Yeah.
talking with Derek for the last 2 years. And now they understand that I have a little bit of a foot in the fitness platform and I'm big enough to interview guys like yourself.
For sure.
So that's always good to see. But it's so weird when you start like people that you've seen all your life suddenly see that you're a little bit more than this guy that goes to the gym and
Yeah,
works out for weights, this meathead, and yeah, it's a funny transition.
it
So
is. It
after
is.
that, you got a little bit of fame. What happened next?
So I still turned off advertising on my channel because I wanted to
Mhm.
reach a certain audience before I wanted to make any money with it. So
Oh, okay.
that brought in a lot of people at the beginning. And then
Hmm.
once I reached like 50,000 subscribers or something, I turned it on. And
Okay.
that's when all of a sudden the money came in. And I
Hmm.
followed a couple of YouTube channels also in the fitness industry who were also doing clothing. And
Right.
I thought it was the smartest idea because I was working out in gym
Hmm.
clothing anyway. So why not create my own with my own identity on it and just show it naturally on the video and see if people like it? So I just did my first few designs. I put up the website. I, um, I made it work so people could actually buy from all over the world to make sure I'm
Hmm.
properly situated in a little warehouse we actually had back at home. So to make sure that everything will go fluently, and we launched in December of I think 2016 or maybe 17. I can't really remember, but it was
That's very
Christmas
nice.
time, so it was
Uh,
sold out really
all right.
quickly. And
Yeah.
that was an awesome feeling because the website is entirely separate from the
Hmm.
YouTube, but everybody from YouTube actually got their way to the website, which to me
Okay.
proved this
Right.
is a great way to actually convert the viewers into
Hmm.
sales. And that
Right.
opened a lot of doors. Then I started to do the workout plans, nutrition plans, the coaching via the website, which all it's like a
How,
steady
how
stream
old?
of people.
How how old were you at that time? Like, what was your age? Like early 20s?
Yes, early 20s. I
Wow.
won my pro card at 24. So I was like 22,
Amazing.
23 when I
Uh-huh.
started that official business. And my dad, my mom, and my brother were all involved. So it was a very nice, trusting situation to be in
Mhm.
because everybody around you wants to make it work
Right.
and really are passionate for it. They don't need money; they just want to work for it and see it grow. So that was
Oh, so
that.
you had a little sweatshop going.
Yeah, exactly.
A little
And but
sweatshop with your but but later on you started, paying them a little bit to,
yes, of
keep
course.
them going.
But I didn't take any money from the store either. We just wanted
Okay.
to blow it up because
Mhm.
it's not like we needed it, but we wanted to
Right.
make it a business so that later on we could actually live from that business.
Okay.
And so we invested initially some money into it, but
Mhm.
we never had to invest later on anymore. So that
Yeah, you
proved
just
that it
all the
really,
profit that you make, yeah, you
yeah,
reinvest, right, and
and
then grow the company
that feeling is just amazing
No, I
to
can
make
imagine.
one investment and to see it come back again and again and again, and people
Mhm.
keep buying and keep supporting you. And the
Right.
bigger my channel grew, the more people saw the clothing. So the advertising, the marketing, I didn't need to do it. I just
Mhm.
showed it on the videos. And the better I did at the contest that I did, the more popularity I
Beautiful.
got, the more
Right.
interviews I did, and it just grew organically like that. Nothing felt
Beautiful.
forced. It really, started to happen naturally in a natural way. And I think a big part of the success was me always being honest about my own flaws. So even if I
Mhm.
won a contest or if I lost a contest, I put out a video about the day of the contest and told everybody watching, okay, here's my posing routine. I could have been drier here. My legs still didn't match up with that guy. This is why he beat me. And I think that taught a lot of people something about how a bodybuilder could be um, how do you call it? Humble as well. So
Right,
the
which is rare, which is very rare
yes,
in our
yes,
sports, but I think it's a Dutch thing because I see William is very humble, and I
yeah,
try to be as open and transparent and humble as possible
hmm
regarding what I'm doing with my body. Of course, I don't compete, but I am, doing the pharmacology that's involved with bodybuilding,
yeah.
and I do the health screening and all that stuff,
You're
and I
honest
think
about it.
people,
Yeah,
yeah, I have to, because well, not many people are very open about it, and I
hmm
understand because if you're at the pro ranks or you're aspiring to be a pro level athlete, then I think the pro league still has a little bit of an adverse reaction if people are, completely open to what they're doing. And I also don't believe like guys in your position, you shouldn't be 100% open. Like I'm taking, this dose and this dose and this dose,
yeah,
and cycle this in and out because people will emulate. And
exactly.
And let's be freaking honest here. Nobody's going to be the second Wesley Vissers unless it's your
No.
brother.
Yeah. He
So
literally has the potential to do it. My brother has
I
the
I I
potential.
see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has a great physique, and
Yeah.
he looks dedicated to it. So, like, I think for you, you can say that you're not natural, maybe discuss compounds, but regarding what you're doing exactly into detail, it's probably better not to. Same as with
Yeah.
William, same as with everybody else at the pro
Yeah.
ranks, because once you start doing that, people will copy, and let's be honest, 99% of the people will not get the same results or
True.
even look remotely close to you.
Yeah. And
You
then they
have a
won't
very
believe it.
unique physique. Yeah, and then they
Yeah.
won't. Plus, if you say I only use 1,500 milligrams total, during prep, then they won't believe it either. They say Wesley's on at least 3 grams and 20 units of growth, et cetera, et cetera. So you can't win. You can't win. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
so what are you running, Wesley?
well, that's actually a very good point, because I saw you talking with someone about Jay Cutler when he mentioned some amounts about
Yeah.
what he used to do back in the off season even.
Mhm.
But even myself, when I listen to that, I'm like, he got to that
Mm.
incredible size with that amount. That is quite impressive. So
Yeah.
it's natural to even doubt, even as a professional bodybuilder myself, who has been through the years of preps and doing everything necessary to be in your best shape.
Mm.
When I hear him talk about it, I'm even like, "Wow, is that 100% truth, or was that the minimal dosage needed to maintain what he already had? Does he use that as the amount that he uses, for example?"
Yeah.
So you
And then
never
forget about what
truly,
what he was doing during prep. It's
yeah,
very hard to decipher, and I think the audience is also a lot smarter nowadays because there's so many
hmm,
steroid educators, and people really
yeah,
go after the information, not just go
yeah,
to the steroid forums or talk to the gym bro, the biggest guy in the gym.
hmm,
So the audience is smarter, which also makes them question everything. So
yeah,
even I get questions about lowering the dose recently because I'm trying not to kill myself. Right? I made, I made plenty of mistakes in the past, and you just start to get older, and you realize that it's probably not worth it to subject yourself to crazy
true,
doses anymore.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I lowered the dose to 600 milligrams in total, right? The half
hmm,
test, half primo, give or take, and then people don't believe it, but they
yeah,
disregard the 20 years that I was bodybuilding, 10 years using drugs at a gram, 2 grams total, and the muscle memory that's involved. And I think as you get older, you can also use less because you get smarter with your body.
that's
And
true,
when you say less, it's probably less steroids, but maybe a couple other compounds on top. Can you
yeah.
talk about things that you've done and regretted or felt were completely unnecessary? Maybe to warn people of what is not required to be a phenomenal Wesley Vissers.
So the first mistake, and it's an obvious one at the
Mhm.
beginning, the amount needed is way lower than you think.
Yeah.
I'm coaching quite a lot of naturals who actually come to me to start their first cycle, for example, because they
Mhm.
trust that if under my guidance, they will not be doing anything crazy. And every single one, starting at the minimal dose, will make kilos of
Yeah.
quality muscle gain, which remains. It doesn't go away. And
No.
that's the big benefit. So, the biggest problem, and the one mistake that I made, because I was under the guidance of someone at the very beginning who
Mhm.
was pretty extreme himself. So, even
Okay.
his lower doses were medium doses to begin with, which medium to me, I, is still a little too high, because when I see now with even people genetically not gifted making quite some progress on the minimal dose, I mean, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I could have started way lower and maybe rode out a lower amount of milligrams for a longer period of time. And also the knowledge about testosterone and aromatization to estrogen was lacking.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I actually, and this was well known in 2016 in the Netherlands,
Mm.
there was a very big ban on gynecomastia in the competitions.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I had it from puberty already, naturally.
Okay, shit.
But of course, when you start a cycle, it comes back full force if you don't do
Yeah.
anything about the estrogen
Uh,
management. And
yeah.
of course, my coach didn't mention it, and I didn't have the
Oh,
knowledge.
so you didn't
So
use an aromatase inhibitor in your first cycle?
no,
So
Nothing.
just test.
I did
Don't tell me. Did you do a debulk kickstart?
no, no, never anything
Okay,
like that.
thank God. Thank God.
I never even used that at all. So
Okay,
so
but that's
but
but Wesley Dianabol is a very vintage compound.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I knew a lot about vintage bodybuilding, but I didn't even think about what was Arnold using, or
Okay.
what did they use back then to look like that. That honestly, I didn't even know what anabolics were until like
Mhm.
20 or 21. And
That's
that's when I
better.
realized,
That's
oh,
better.
okay. Yeah. Because I lived in a farmer's town in a gym
Mhm.
where nobody knows anything about bodybuilding. And I was the
Ah,
only
right,
one who had a little bit of muscle.
right.
Uh, and
It's very
people were
hard
asking
to
me,
it yeah, it's very hard to get inspired in the gym like that,
yeah,
because if
for
you're
sure.
already the biggest guy early on and nobody has the knowledge, that's why I tell most people said, "Hey, if you really want to be in the sport or follow your dreams, sign up to the gym where the biggest bodybuilders are. And if you have
Yeah.
to change cities, so you move to Amsterdam or move to somewhere else. But now you said, fuck it, I'll just make my own gym."
Yeah, yeah, but I did move to another gym in between. So I moved from that town to Breda in the Netherlands, which is a
Mhm.
slightly bigger city with serious bodybuilders competing there. And in that gym, that's where I met my first coach. And don't get me
Right.
wrong, even though his advices weren't perfect, he was a very nice guy. He helped me a whole
Mm.
lot. My first show I did naturally to prove to myself,
Okay.
can I win the overall here naturally without anything?
Mm.
Just to prove, am I worthy of going to the
Right.
next step? And
Right.
even then, I thought, if I look back now, I could have still waited a couple of years, because I was
Mm.
just beginning to understand what bodybuilding truly is in terms of supplementation, nutrition, hard training, to be consistent with that, because I made quite a lot of gains with literally only eating 300 grams of quark post workout, and that's all that I did for my nutrition. Uh,
Same here,
and
dude. Like for the guys that speak English, quark is cottage cheese. So you
yeah,
have a bucket which you can buy at Albertijn, which is the biggest grocery store chain in Holland, 50 cents back then, and maybe now it's a euro, maybe now it's a euro, €2. I can't remember. Probably inflation
well,
ruined
I
the
actually
price.
used a strawberry flavored one, so because I didn't
Oh, that's
like
right.
the regular one.
I use the regular one, 50 grams of casein
Yeah.
protein and 10 grams of carbs or something like that in total. And then you throw in XXL Nutrition whey protein. That was the only
Oh yeah.
whey protein producer in Holland that was available, and all the imported stuff was so expensive.
Yeah.
So you get a bucket of quark and a scoop of whey protein, vanilla flavored, and you add some oats, and that will be nutrition.
Yeah.
So, of
The
course, a
rest of
lot
the
have
day
changed.
didn't matter.
No, the rest of the day didn't matter, right? So, right, you also think that you've gotten right a couple more kilos in your natural potential simply because
Yeah.
the knowledge wasn't there. Yeah.
I I'm coaching one person. He's called
Mhm.
Tom, and
Mhm.
he has a lot of. He will be known in the industry for
Okay.
sure. I'm not just saying this. He will be. He's as tall as me. He
Mhm.
weighed he weighed like 105 kilos with good
Oh,
condition
wow.
naturally, with a tiny
Okay.
waist, also
Uh-huh.
classic physique. And he's unknown under the radar now. Maybe I don't think he even likes to be very known at the moment, but
Mhm.
he will be known. But the why I'm saying this, he was
Mhm.
natural for a very long time. And even until he reached my age, still natural. And you can
Mhm.
see how big he got naturally, how much progress he made in the off season, just because he waited and waited and waited until he really maximized his potential.
Right.
And that's when you can say, okay, if you want to go pro, now is the time to step it up. And
Right.
because he also won a contest naturally, multiple contests naturally. So it's possible, if you know that you have decent genetics, just don't give into it too quickly. Just don't.
No, I agree. I agree because like a lot of guys, they jump the gun way too early.
Yeah.
And I could have waited another 10 year or 2 years, but I was already drug free for 10, 11 years. Right. So I
Yeah,
was bodybuilding a
exactly.
long time. I certainly didn't have the genetics to might be 100 kilos on stage dry. I'd be happy with 74 kilos dry.
Yeah.
So I just waited. I wanted to make a career as a business guy, consultancy and business. And then that fell through, and I decided to do my first cycle because I had all this time available. when the economic crisis of 2009, 2010. So
Mm.
this is a long time ago. So when I did my first cycle, I started off low, 1 ampule of tests per week, right? And I made good progress, but not phenomenal progress.
Yeah.
And your cycle was that more than 1 ampule of tests per week? Your first
The
cycle?
very first was that, but
Mhm.
because the guidance around me wasn't guiding me in a way to be patient for the results,
Mhm.
I was actually pushed to do a little more than that quite quickly
Yeah.
after a couple of weeks even, which
All
is
right. Yeah.
nothing. You have to wait
Mhm.
like 2 months to see, okay, if is this dose high enough for me to see any
Mhm.
progress above my natural
Mhm.
progress. And with that, another mistake is actually doing a blood test before starting using anything, because
Mhm.
I was never advised to do so. Back then, it
So
was
you
not
didn't do
as
you didn't do a baseline test?
no, and
Okay.
that's a
Yeah.
big regret, because it
Yeah.
took me years to even realize that, oh, blood tests are actually pretty important to realize your baseline levels.
Yeah.
And maybe my testosterone was already pretty high, and maybe that would have convinced me, oh, it's actually quite high. I can ride this out for a
Mhm.
bit longer. And to also know when you go off and go PCT, for example, to know where you should go back to, or where you should strive to go back to after finding out your baseline levels. But because I never did,
Mhm.
I will never know the natural testosterone levels. And I think they could have been quite high if I look at my physique back then and see
I would say so. Yeah.
see the progress I
Yeah.
made completely naturally. I'm not sure. Do you know the Dutch bodybuilding forum back in the day? It was like
Um,
it was like the regular forum.bodybuilding.nl instead of
yeah.
.com.
Mhm.
And
The one that was
and I
sponsored by one of the underground labs,
yeah,
right?
and
I think that
and
was
that
yeah.
you could
Well, we're
actually
not going to
post
mention
your
the lab, but
no.
I think there was one. I think there was one bodybuilding forum that was actually owned by one of the underground labs, and they
Yeah,
would have reviews, and all of the reviews of this brand were good, and all the other
yeah,
brands were kind of trash.
yeah,
So there was also
yeah. I
partyfokken.nl.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah, where all the party pics with guys. Please don't dive into the 2008 time period when I
No.
used to party. So they would do party pics, and then they had a bodybuilding forum there as well. And that's one of the earliest forums I think that I visited. Of course, I went to Intense Muscle and Muscle Mayhem, which is now closed. That's Chad Nichols' old forum where all the pros would hang out.
Mm,
But most right, that was kind of the information where we started to get our
yeah,
cycle design. And now looking back, I think a lot of the information there was wrong or could have been done better. But it's 10, 15 years later, and now we know a
true.
lot more about steroids than we did back then. So your cycle was ramped up quite heavily. How was your response on your first cycle? Did you like blow up compared to everybody else?
So I gained 14 kilos during contest prep for that show,
So
and
this
that
is how
even
you know if you have good genetics, guys.
yeah. So
14
that's when
kilos.
I realized, okay, it's always a double-edged sword thinking about this, because on
Mhm,
one hand I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't use much at all. I don't even remember the exact dosages, but it wasn't much, because
mhm.
I know it just wasn't, the volume wasn't that much, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
the
as low as
injection
it
the
should have
injection
been.
volume. You mean the
Yeah,
injection volume?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just could
but
have
it
been
was
designed better, probably.
yeah,
Mm,
exactly. But the effect that it had is undeniable for the first
yeah.
show. And then I won again as a junior my the overall. I won everything you could win in that show, and that did propel me into the Dutch bodybuilding scene as one of the guys to
Mhm.
watch, because I
Yeah.
went from a D athlete to an A athlete, which is
What, in one
the
season?
yeah, in 1 week. In 1 week.
One
That's
week. Dude, really?
yeah.
You went from
So
a
that's
D athlete to an A athlete I know guys that struggled from B to A for 10 years.
I know. Yeah.
10 years,
And
and they gave everything for bodybuilding.
yeah.
They gave
And
everything. Yeah.
so that's kind of when I knew, okay, I might have a future here, because I was still a
Mhm.
junior, and that and to that yeah, and that was in that year. So I won.
Dude.
the C contest, and I did a B contest. I won, and that qualified me for the A contest on the same day, which is the Juliet Bergman Classic
How do you?
Grand
Yeah,
Prix in the
yeah.
Netherlands, and I won that one as well. So I
Which
was
year was
already
that?
at the top in 2014. So I was
Yeah, okay. No, I didn't watch. I watched the one in like 2007 or 8. That's how long ago. Yeah, I've been a lot on the amateur circuit in the beginning, and then of course I moved here, so I haven't
yeah,
watched that show. Would have been fun if we were both there at the same show.
yeah, that would be amazing. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. But of course, I was still quite still at that height. I was 98 kilos on stage, and even though quite heavy, not developed enough to really compete with the super heavyweight, which is above 100 kilos. So that's when I took a couple of years to really make some progress, put on some
And that's
quality weight. And within that year, within those years, that's when I started the YouTube channel actually, and did my next show. And that's when I started to do the Arnold Classic Europe and the other bigger shows to make a name for myself within the industry. And yeah, it was an amazing time looking back. But I do believe that with the knowledge I have now, and maybe in 10 years I'll say something entirely different because then I'll have
yeah.
more knowledge. But
Keep
with the
learning.
knowledge right now, I would have started way lower, would have done a blood test first, started later. But at the same time, as I just mentioned, if I didn't do all that, would I be where I am right now?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not. Like we all learn from our mistakes, and it's
Yeah.
never too late to learn. But like I tell myself, I could have started 2 years later, but I might have stayed natural, or might have
Hmm.
never gotten to the point I am now.
Yeah.
Which it is a bit weird to say, but I am here because of taking the steroids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because now I have all this knowledge, and you
Exactly.
develop your physique to the point that it is impressive. So you gained 14 kilos on your first cycle during prep. I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
everybody to listen to this, because this shows that you can go far. And if this doesn't happen, I gained 4 kilos. That's it, close to my natural potential, where I assume I could have gained another 2. So that's maybe two
Hmm.
kilos I could have gained, and then two
Yeah.
kilos because of the steroids, right? So 4 kilos because I did my first cycle, 250 milligrams test annotate per week. After 5 weeks, I was 92 kilos, from 88 to 92, 93. And then I started recomping. So I figured, you know what, let's turn this off season into a prep, because I'm eating 5,000 calories and I'm getting leaner. It's a perfect time to start dieting. Yeah. So I dropped
Yeah.
it to 4,500, got leaner. And then I still ended up at like 2,500 at the end,
Hmm.
with 2 hours of cardio, because I was used to
Well.
doing 2 hours of cardio. And
Yeah.
I was 78 kilos instead of 74. It's similar, a
Mm.
little bit leaner. So I
Yeah.
gained about 4 kilos on the scale, a little bit better, but you gained 14 in a real prep. That's
Yeah.
freaking insane. And I see it happen around me, guys that have this phenomenal response, even to a poor cycle, right? It's like designed less than favorably. But I think that people should realize that, listen, if you want to make it big in the sport, and don't jeopardize your health later on when you get to the competitive level, in the beginning you should make phenomenal progress. Even if you're doing the diet and the training and the
Hmm.
cycle wrong, you should still blow the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The people like, holy shit, what's going on, like what happened to you. And then later on you get more knowledgeable, and a little bit more conscious about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So nowadays, like, we've learned a lot, right? So again, when you look back, that first cycle was probably not unnecessary. Any compounds that you regret taking, or that you figured were not useful to get to the point you are now?
Um. Well, regarding the compounds, might not be. There's not as much. I haven't even used
Mm.
anything that's available yet because luckily I gained knowledge quickly enough to know
Okay.
some compounds are just, they may provide a temporary boost in weight and strength, but it's
Mm.
temporary.
Right.
Just like a lot of the compounds that convert, at least that hold a lot of water,
Right.
and which
Off-season
are
stuff.
ultimately, yeah, exactly. And most of the orals I never do in the off season because
Mm.
again with digestion, that's another more advanced tip,
Mm.
that orals will simply, it won't be good for your gut bacteria, for example. They don't really like it, so they won't thrive on that. And
No, that's true. Like your digestion changes a lot with oral steroids, and I
yeah,
also don't think it's like maybe the last couple of weeks for a contest, to get a little bit drier and harder. But if you can avoid them during the off season, would be best. And again, your
yeah,
proof of pulling a vacuum that deep at the end of off season is right. It's confirmation enough that you don't dabble with
yeah,
that stuff. So
yeah.
you've
One
become a
one
lot
mistake
more.
actually. One
Yeah.
mistake. I told you about the estrogen aromatization went a little too far. So I wanted to later on fix the gynecomastia, which had increased.
Oh
So of
wow.
course you go read on forums, and they all claim they have some kind of fix. There is no fix
Yeah.
that you can do, but
Yeah.
of course you go and try it out. And you first, well, actually, quite immediately, I tried to get my hands on letrozole or
Oh no.
Femara, so the strongest anti-estrogen available. And using that, only using that without anything
Yeah.
else, doesn't really
Uh,
do well
oh,
for
that
your
was like you were
mindset.
off cycle. You were off
Yeah,
cycle. Oh
I was
no.
off. Was off completely because I
Uh-huh.
knew the first advice was don't use anything that could make it grow. So I was
Right.
completely off anything. And then use something to eliminate the stimulation of it, like estrogen.
Mhm.
So letrozole, of course, drives it down immensely. But
Mhm.
estrogen in the male body is also very important, not just for your health, but also your mood and how you feel.
Right.
So I was depressed. I
Yeah, I can
was
imagine. Yeah, I can
yeah, a few
imagine.
weeks I was like, because it's a double effect, because you're depressed because of the low estrogen, but also
Mhm.
because the every issue that you have, like the gynecomastia, is then
Mhm.
extremely on your mind way more than
Oh, right.
before.
You get
Because
even
you're
more
like, oh, it's
self-conscious.
still there.
Yeah.
You think your career is over. Back
Yeah.
then, of course,
Right.
it was very expensive to remove it. Eventually,
Yeah.
I did that because that's the smartest decision to do.
Yeah. For the guys
Um,
to know, like in Holland, we have healthcare, universal healthcare, which sounds good on paper, but
yeah,
in this kind of cases, they don't pay for surgery. Even so, yours was pubescent, right? You got it way before you ever took steroids,
yeah,
just made it worse.
yeah,
And then, unless you address it when you're 13, at 12, and you really play the victim, where you say you're
yeah,
depressed and you're worried
exactly.
about girls, you don't want to take your shirt off on the beach and blah, 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 you really have to play into it. Then they might remove it and pay for the surgery, which is very expensive in Holland. But if you do it later than puberty, and especially when you're older and developed, they will immediately say, no, this is your own fault because of steroids. And then they won't pay for it, which also means that I mean, how many private hospitals are there in Holland? Not many.
No,
So it's
not
almost
many.
impossible to get it removed. So I
Yeah.
still have gyno from way back when I broke my leg and I developed gyno. I have no idea why. Maybe because of the medications. Yeah, it's
Oh
very
yeah.
weird, right? Very weird.
Yeah,
Actually, I
yeah,
have to
yeah.
make a video about that.
Yeah.
So I was drug free. I broke my leg in a motorcycle accident. I went through the whole recovery process, and then one day I did squats for the first time, and then the next day my nipples were sensitive. So
Oh,
squats gave me gyno. Yeah,
uh, such a
super weird
boost of
situation.
testosterone that it
Yeah,
immediately converted back
converted
back
it.
to
Exactly.
estrogen.
So I felt my nipples. And then this was like 2 or 3 years before I ever did a cycle. So I went to the doctor, said, I think I'm developing gyno. Can you have a look at it? And he touched it. I said, well, you're a bodybuilder, right? You're taking steroids, right? I said, no, I'm not. You can check my hormone levels. I do my full blood work every year, right? So you can see that I haven't taken steroids ever. We went for an ultrasound and they denied the surgery because they felt it
Wow.
wasn't severe enough. And then, of course, later, like in your case, I did developed on cycle a little bit more. In my case, also, but I never really addressed it because I was able to shrink it a little bit with the raloxifene, and now I'm
Mhm.
a little bit hesitant to do surgery because of the clotting risks. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm postponing that surgery for myself. But that healthcare in Holland is it's good, but it's also a little bit cumbersome to navigate. There's a website now
yeah,
called Bloedwaardentest
yeah.
.nl. I'll link it down below, guys. So you got your gyno removed, and what about your blood work? Like, have you been doing it more frequently since the last couple of years? How's that? Because I haven't done blood work in Holland in forever. So what is the
Yeah.
current system now?
So first, it depends on the kind of doctor you have. So first, I was able to get it through my doctor, for
Mm.
way cheaper than the website you just mentioned, where you can actually
Right.
order it online, but
Right.
they charge a premium. It's incredibly
It's
expensive.
because it's out of the medical system, right? It's out of pocket,
Yeah,
but it's also
yeah,
anonymous, so it doesn't go in your record. So it's right, you have to spend for it, but at least it's if you want to do some follow up.
yeah.
Because
It's because when comparing, like I did it at the doctors, and then like a testosterone test is like €4,
yeah,
and kidneys is like €6, and I'm like, whoa, this is like 10 times less money, or 10 times more money now that I would have to spend right now. But you're
yeah,
right, the investment is worth it all the way. Because right now that's the only option for me personally. But before, I was able to get like this, the form. The doctor gives you a form
mhm.
where you can cross off every value that needs to be
Yeah,
tested. So
yeah. I
they
would do.
crossed off like 3 things, but I got it home and I crossed off everything that I wanted to test.
Yes, yes. I did
And
this
then,
too.
yeah, because then you go to the hospital where
Right.
where they actually take your blood, and they have no connection to your doctor at all, so they can't tell that you did it. Yeah. So that's what I did a couple of times, and then and the weird thing is the results are not mailed to me, but they are mailed back to the doctor. So
Yeah.
somehow they should see why is all already value being tested that I didn't sign off for, but I was never mentioned. I was never caught or
No.
anything. So very lucky about that. But after I moved to a different area, to a different
Mhm.
place, city, that's when I had to do the bloedwatertest.nl, the
Mhm.
website where you can actually order the blood test kit. You get it at
Right.
home, and then you
Mhm.
make an appointment at a hospital or laboratory. They take your blood, and then you get then you mail it back to them. You get the results
Okay.
back. So I like to do that at least um, every single time that I do a contest prep, within the
Mhm.
contest prep, at the worst possible stage, to see,
2 weeks
okay,
out.
yeah, yeah. To see, okay, where am I truly at? And
Right.
to see what values are most off, and where do I have to look out
Mhm.
for the most?
Mhm.
And also a couple of weeks after the contest
Mhm.
to see, because then everything should be, well, I wait long enough to make sure that most of the things that I was using is
Mhm.
out of my system and
Right.
not affecting me as much anymore. And that I'm already also eating a bit more calories, more nutrients, to
Right.
see if my blood levels are back a
Mhm.
little bit within the reference range.
Right.
And if they still are not, then I will implement more of the health supplements, and nowadays also some medication to help
Mhm.
mitigate those increased values, like cholesterol, for
Right.
example, which the HDL for me has always been on the low side, even from the very
Right.
first blood test I ever did. But LDL,
Okay.
luckily, is always also very low. So they
Okay.
kind of compensate each other in that way.
Do you eat a
The
lot of
liver,
dietary cholesterol, or you try to avoid that, like the egg yolks and the beef? Do you avoid that?
I actually I haven't eaten red meat since 2013. So that's not the problem.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
How are
right,
your iron levels? Like your
very
hematocrit, does
normal
that go up a
actually.
lot? Okay, that's good.
They're
Okay, that's
yeah,
good.
they're good. So I do test like the vitamins and the minerals that you want to know, like iron,
Mhm.
vitamin D,
Right.
and also of course all of
B12.
the, yeah,
Right.
B12, all
Mhm.
of that
Mhm.
is good within range. And the liver is the problem with that is you have to take off enough time from the gym, of course, to actually see accurate levels, but they're never to a point where you should be worried, like a little bit over the reference range. But I
Mhm.
know that,
Okay.
okay, I did train 2 days ago, so
Right.
that's still relatively acceptable.
Mhm.
uh, the kidney is very healthy,
Mhm.
GFR like close to 100, so that's
Oh,
what I'm
that's
very
good.
happy about.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's what I'm happy about.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
And
estrogen for me,
you've been competing how many years now? And
say,
like
since 2013, so
okay.
9, yeah, 8 or 9
And
years now in total.
how many years enhanced?
Um, 7 or 8, 7 or 8
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
So I did my
Nice.
first contest naturally, and from then I did it the enhanced route. But
Right.
some of those years were no contest at all. So like 2015 and 16, I think were no contest years.
Mhm.
And yeah, ever since then, I did multiple contests a year. So I did multiple preps for sure. And I'm thanks to your channel and some others, I've gained a lot of knowledge regarding health supplementation. For example, on your website, that article about all the supplements you take and the
Oh, the
reason why.
year-round supplement stack. Yeah.
Yes, that was very
Uh-huh.
helpful because I
Okay,
really did a
awesome.
lot of research in that one. And stuff like that is something that a lot more people should read, because I have my own clients, and I literally direct them to that website, to your link,
Oh,
to
really?
show
Cool.
them, wow, look, this
Awesome.
all information is already here.
Uh-huh.
So, and you also have an iHerb link, right, with a discount
Yeah.
code. You
Helps a lot,
probably
yeah.
are also getting a lot of kickback from
Excellent,
that.
yeah. Over the
Yeah,
last couple of years, it's gone up substantially. So, thanks to everybody using my discount codes,
yeah,
I get all my supplements for free. Now, just
yeah,
because my supplement bill was like $300 a month.
yeah.
So having a sponsor in the form of Gorilla Mind, and you've got your own sponsors, right? And so you
Mhm.
usually get your free supplements there, and then the health
Yeah.
supplements you can get from iHerb. Do you have an
Mhm.
iHerb link?
I do, but I don't know it out of the top of my head. It's like a weird code
Okay.
like yours.
Yeah, it's like a weird
But
code, but it
yeah,
allows you probably to get your supplements for free also because of the kickback that you get.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
You probably have to pay some importation taxes in Holland.
yes, but that website actually does it a little bit smart, because you can already see what it is before it arrives.
Um,
So you're not
okay.
surprised at the door. Oh, I have to pay 50 euros on top
Mm,
of the expensive supplements.
yeah.
So luckily, you already know the end number, what you have to pay. You
Uh-huh.
know when you place the order, and then you're
You
not
don't get a heart
surprised by
attack when it
anything.
arrives. I have to pay
Yeah,
$200
exactly.
still
Let's not go through your health either.
importation
So
taxes.
yeah,
Right? You have to take
yeah,
extra blood pressure medications for
yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
added taxes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I try to give back as much as possible, because I made so many mistakes over the years
Yeah.
because the information wasn't there. And I think for all of us, it's just a learning experience, just to, at the beginning, you really want to go like, I want to be the biggest guy and, have
Yeah.
all the muscle and I don't care what it takes. And when you're young, you can actually get away with it. When
Mhm.
you're like 25 years old, 26, then the body is quite resilient. You can
Yeah.
you do pretty stupid stuff and not really get negative health ramifications. But
Yeah.
when you get to 30, 38, especially 50, I mean, those guys, after 30 years of taking steroids, you can't really take anything anymore because your body
True.
just starts to reject it. So
Yeah.
how long do you see yourself competing? Like I'm sure you have a goal to make it, the highest level of the bodybuilding on the
Yeah.
Olympia in classic physique. What is your timeline? You're such a calculated guy, from what I
Yeah.
see.
I have the age of 35 in my head,
Mhm.
um, because for some reason, like when I reach that number competitively, I think, am I still able to make enough progress to do, if I'm not, now I do believe I will be in the very top before that, or long before that actually, but
Mm,
that I think you should have that belief about yourself, of course, when you're in my position. But once I reach that age, and I'm like, I still would need to improve quite a lot to beat that top guy at that point. I
mhm,
don't think it's going to happen after that without making some sacrifices, even more
right,
sacrifices than already.
right.
So that's not what I want to do. But you know, with everything around it, just like yourself, it's not only about being a competitive bodybuilder. It's all about also helping people with your own mistakes, experiences, with
Mhm,
your own knowledge. And yeah, that's actually a bigger part of my life than the competitive scene right now, to actually every single day interact with people and help them reach their own
mhm,
goals. And then I always think it's very fun to have my own separate, very high set goal for myself,
right.
to actually reach that top 5 in the Olympia, and to really be part of the conversation, which I really believe it's possible.
I
So
think
that
so,
to
yeah,
me is a very,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I think, like, the IFBB Pro League is such a conditioning buff, right? And
Yeah.
and you haven't been to that super crispy conditioning yet.
Mhm.
So, like, working with your new coach now who was able to achieve that kind of conditioning, and
Yeah.
basically it means that, right, based on your previous prep, you would basically have to be there four weeks before the show,
True.
and then go fucking hard on the no calorie thing, like
Yeah.
1,500 calories. And a lot of people think it's like it's a drug thing, but it's actually a
No.
calorie thing. You just have
Yeah.
to 1,500 calories or 1,800 calories probably at your height, and then somehow try to time all this nutrition so good and your cardio so good that you don't lose your legs.
Yeah.
Because right, if you
That's
for
yeah.
for Wesley to really get crispy, you would have to go so low calories for maybe a month because you haven't been there yet. Really suffer, and then somehow maintain your legs. So if you show up super crispy on the next Olympia stage, but people say your legs didn't improve, they did improve, but you lost them again, to
Yeah.
get to that crispy conditioning. Your back might have improved because, right, you don't have to, or unless you're going to do rowing for cardio, you lose a little bit of back. But so a lot of people don't understand that it's a process, and maybe the next step in your process is to get super crispy, and then the year after, your legs are up to par because you
Yeah.
already gone through the process of getting all the body fat down that is never gone away. It's step by step, and I think
Exactly.
like your age is what how old are you now?
28.
28. So you got 7 years of competition left,
Yeah.
and I think within the next 2 years you should be top five. Absolutely,
Yeah. Thank you very much,
absolutely. Yeah.
because that would be a dream come true. Right? I've been saying this for years, but
Mhm.
in 2018, when I won my pro card, I won my first pro show, right away qualified for the Olympia.
Mhm.
That feeling that I had back then, that was just indescribable, because I was propelled into like the ultimate dream I had really quickly, and
Mhm.
it was a lot of it impacted my life a lot back then. And right now, I'm way more level-minded. I'm
Mhm.
clear-minded. I can see what is happening, and I can approach it way better, because I think back then, that's why at the Olympia I didn't look as good as I could have looked, because there was
Well,
so many coming at you at the same time. So many things. I was
yeah.
25 back then at my first
Yeah,
Olympia,
that's right. Yeah, that's crazy young.
and
And
you're also
again, like
young. You're still sorry.
you don't really have that guidance, at the Mr.
No.
Olympia level, because all these American or Canadian
Yeah.
people on that side of the world, they have the connections. They know they probably have a friend that competed at the
True.
Olympia before. You have the athletes meeting, you have
Yeah.
the press conference, and that's not at the other shows. So if you go there the
No.
first time, you don't know how to time your meals around these events. And you
Yeah.
sit there at the meet the athletes stuff for a couple hours, standing there. You can't really drink so much water. Then you have to weigh in. It's you know I noticed that at the world championships at the amateur ranks, it's a clusterfuck of running around and doing this
Yeah.
and doing that, and then you got to weigh in, and this class goes on the next day, or they change the classes, right? It's a very stressful event, and that's something
Mhm.
you don't have with the regular amateur shows or the pro shows. That's usually well
Yeah.
oiled, and then you go to the Olympia, and it's 3 days of running around and trying to carb up. So your carbohydrate requirement is already higher than
Yeah.
other shows. Yeah. And then you miss time, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna carb up 600 carbs per day for 3 days, and I should be full. No, you're still
Yeah.
flat because you actually need
Yeah.
800. And these little things you just have to learn. That's why
Yeah.
most guys at their first Olympia, they're just there to experience it. And
Yeah.
then after that, you kind of know how to, prepare
Yeah.
for it correctly. It's way more cumbersome than people think.
Yeah. And the thing is, of course, if you remember the Dutch climate, if you then fly to Las Vegas, in the middle of the desert, I mean,
Uh-huh.
it feels so different. And then you go
Yeah.
into a casino with air conditioning. You go outside, it's like 25 degrees Celsius hotter, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's like a whirlwind of different
Uh-huh.
impacts on your body. So it's like, okay, whatever my body's going to look like is going to look like this, because it's just very hard to control, of course.
Mm.
And also my entire, and even though you're right, it was about the experience, but
Mm.
my entire family was there. I mean, you have to
Ah.
book a hotel, a lot of flights,
Mm.
so
It's
much money
pricey.
involved
It's
that people don't
pricey.
even realize. And
Yeah,
then to do the Olympia and to not be allowed to do the finals, just to do the prejudging on the expo stage. So it's like a
oh,
really
yeah, it's not
short
even, yeah.
experience of the Olympia. So you can say, oh, I did the Mr. Olympia,
Mhm.
but it's over really quickly once you
2
don't
minutes.
make the top 10. And
Yeah.
then you realize, whoa, this is a lot of money went into this. But at the
Mm.
same time, that's why a YouTube channel is so nice to have, because it pays you back. If you record everything And if
Hmm.
you put it on YouTube, I mean, it's going
Right.
to pay you back more than you
Abs-
actually spend. So that's why I
Absolutely.
thank every single time. I thank everybody watching, because
Mm.
without the people watching, I literally wouldn't be able to do this.
No,
It wouldn't
I
be
agree.
possible. Yeah, so
It's
that's
it's a
amazing.
it's a big fan-driven sport. So guys like you, myself, we go on social media and document our experiences or
Yeah.
road to the Olympia stage. And you can actually monetize it, which is great. Like
Hmm.
when I started going to university, we didn't have this opportunity to make money. So I'm a little bit late to the party, I always feel. And I think for you, it came like at the perfect time. You're in
Yeah.
in high school, right, or university, and then your YouTube channel is already starting to pick up. So instead of
Yeah.
working for somebody else, you're like, I do my own clothing. And then later on, you do your own
Yeah.
gym. You start to employ your family members, and then you're set. It's all dependent on your ability to dive into this YouTube channel and document the whole
Yeah.
journey. And people are
Yeah.
super grateful if you're doing that because again, not every like I wouldn't be able to accomplish what you've accomplished. And to get to my level of knowledge, it also takes decades of
That's
research and
yeah.
research and research, and
Yeah.
then you have something to share. So that's why I always tell people, said, listen, if you're not really known and you want to make it big in the sport, get on Instagram, get on YouTube, document the whole thing, and you will always find people willing to support you. Use your codes, buy your clothing line, whatever. And then it actually becomes quite lucrative, and you can actually employ people. Like I employ my wife's
Yeah.
brother. Now Aaron is here, right? My good friend, he moved from
Yeah.
China to
Yeah.
come help me with the YouTube channel. So right, then you just can level up and employ people that are supportive of your cause. So it's very good that you've come so far. So what is next for you in your YouTube channel? You went to Vienna to document
Yes.
some stuff. Like what can we expect on your
So
channel?
So my channel is very old school, not just with bodybuilding, but also with the way that I presented my content. I
Mhm.
simply filmed my training, my workouts, and then I did a voiceover. And it
Yeah.
worked for a long time because I can do this with my voice. So
Right.
people like to, yeah, because so people they like to listen to the voice, but after a
Mhm.
while it becomes stale if you compare it to other channels that are thriving right now, showing more of the lifestyle, not really doing the tutorial style workouts anymore.
Mhm.
Every now and then it's possible, but they just want to see what you're doing day to day, how your
Right.
life is designed, what your plans are, a bit getting to know you more instead of
Right.
just the tutorial type training. So that's going to be a big change in my channel, and for that you're going to need someone dedicated to filming your life. And I already have someone like that, actually a good friend who is able to do that. And it's I think it's important to have someone just like you right now with Aaron. I mean, you
Right.
trust him, so whenever you guys talk about something, a video, it's fun to do. When he's around you, it feels comfortable. I have the same feeling with a friend Niels that is going to be
Mhm.
filming me.
Perfect.
And so someone will be filming me, not just the workout, but also things around the workout, my personal life, and the truly roads to the contest, road to the Olympia, for example,
Mhm.
and way more different content also abroad, just like we filmed everything when I was here in Vienna. To
Mhm.
make it a lot more entertaining and for the consistency to come back and the professionality, the editing will be much better. I did all the editing myself. So I filmed mostly like the last 1.5 years. I filmed
Mhm.
a lot of videos myself, edited them myself, did the
Mhm.
voiceover myself, thumbnail myself, everything myself, basically.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work if you want to focus on being an athlete and at the same time provide quality content. Something is going to give. And that's not what I want
Just
anymore.
get
So I want to
flooded.
be,
You get flooded, like,
yeah,
you do the
yeah,
filming and then the editing and
yeah.
the timestamps
It's
because, you know, you no,
it's on your
you're
mind.
working until 4 in the morning, which is still what I'm doing, but so I
Yeah,
outsourced my editing to my wife, and then I get basically like a raw file that I just have to proof watch, maybe make a couple adjustments here and there, and then I can upload it. So that saves me
yeah,
already 3 hours in a day because people
yeah.
don't realize like how many hours of editing is involved. So if you can outsource the editing and the thumbnails I still like to do myself because I
Mhm.
know the audience and I want to make thumbnails that make me laugh. So
Yeah.
if I laugh, if I'm frantically laughing by myself to making the thumbnails, then I know it's going to be good. you know, So we'll make a couple good ones for our collaboration for
Nice,
sure.
nice.
And so you want to be hands on, but not too hands on, so you don't have time
Yeah,
for anything else, right? That's why Aaron is here to help me with the
yeah,
shorts and a couple other stuff in the background, and it helps tremendously, because I think for you, like you're your own businessman and you've grown this vintage genetic from the ground up, so you want to have your fingers in everything.
yeah,
But at one
yeah,
point, you're just too big and too busy to
yeah,
have your fingers in it. And then you need to delegate. So you've delegated some to your family. And then for the YouTube channel, you got to do the same thing to
yeah,
outsource that to somebody else. And
yeah.
then usually the
Because
production value goes up because they can focus 100% of the time on the
exactly.
video. And you can
Yeah,
focus 100% of the time on being an athlete.
perfect. Yeah, that's exactly right. Everybody with their talents will focus on their own talent.
Mhm.
So yeah, my talent would then be being the athlete and being the person I am on camera.
Mhm.
For people that is interesting enough to watch, and that's all I need to do. Someone with their talent for filming will do all the filming with all the
Right.
shots and the B-rolls, and then someone else will do the editing and the background, which they are very good at. So
Right.
everything will be very professionally done, and
Good.
that's what was missing from my channel. And
It's what you need
yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
You
Sorry.
need, we're literally competing with the 1 million, 2 million follower YouTube
Yeah,
channels
yeah,
and Netflix. And you see the production
yeah,
quality of those shows, and the bigger channels have gone up tremendously because they got a whole team. So if you want to
exactly.
compete with those guys and get some views, then you gotta level up as well. So I gotta, where is it? Let me see. I got one of these gimbals just to film my workout.
Yeah,
You know, and then you put the iPhone, and you get super nice stabilization. It's probably not interesting for half the audience, but stick with me. So you got one of these gimbals, and then you can put your iPhone on there. Oh, wait a minute. Let me put my iPhone is
I actually saw one of the
right,
clips already that you that Aaron
right,
filmed of you.
exactly. And then I film him, and the production quality is way better. I think my iPhone is somewhere
Yeah,
lower. So I film my workout and his workout, right? Or he films my workout and I film his workout, and then I give it to my wife to edit, and she makes the training videos.
yeah,
So then we don't have to look at it and get frustrated with ourselves, like, "Oh, this set was horrible, dude." You know how
yeah,
hard we are on ourselves, right? You see the
yeah.
set
That's
and like, "Oh
also
man,
that's true.
guys like us are very hard on ourselves because that comes with
Yeah.
bodybuilding. You want to
Hmm.
constantly improve, but that also means that the videos that we make are also very hard on, and that
Yeah,
makes it take more time. Yeah. So if you got an editor, that helps so much. It
yeah.
helps so
It's
much.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very looking forward to the future for sure because I used to
Mhm.
have a quite thriving channel. Like 2 years ago, I think that's when it started to
Mhm.
decline a little bit because I didn't change my style, and other people like Chris Bumstead obviously started to come onto the scene way more
Right.
with his
Mhm.
content. So he is
He's
right
huge right
now,
now.
yeah,
Huge.
he's pretty much the top of the game of this entire, in my opinion, of this entire industry because
Yeah. Mhm.
he has everything right now. So, but it proves to you that that's what people want to see.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's the kind of content that is interesting for people because obviously the views are there to prove it. And you got to move with the times. So
Yeah.
if you want to be one of the bigger guys on YouTube, you simply got to change. If you don't change, then people will move on.
So are you going to document all your cycles now?
That could also be a very, I think, a very interesting route to go. That's also interesting. But yeah,
Maybe,
I
maybe,
don't think
maybe,
that's,
maybe a little bit lighter. Yeah.
yeah,
Again,
yeah, yeah,
people
exactly.
people will try to emulate. What I think you can do is talk about your blood work, right? I mean, now you have a
Yeah,
place to
that,
do your
yeah,
blood
will,
work.
yeah.
And how about organ imaging? Is that easy to do in Holland? I've never done it there, besides the ultrasound on my gyno, but I've never done any
Um,
organ imaging there.
It should be relatively easy, but
Mhm.
I caught myself and catching myself not doing the proper research of actually
Mhm.
doing it consistently. I
Mhm.
did do it in Maastricht University, so in the
Right. Yeah.
southern of the
Southern part of
Netherlands,
Holland. Yeah.
and I was part of a study and they wanted to see how bodybuilders who use performance enhancing drugs versus people not using performance enhancing drugs,
Mhm.
how the organ size actually differs between
Oh,
those two
okay.
groups. So
Cool.
I was put under an MRI scan, and that was one of the most, I'm not claustrophobic, but if you're in that room, I literally didn't fit, but I still had to go in. So
So
my
you were
arm, one arm was here and one arm was there.
oh
I
no.
had to, yeah, and for more than an hour in that
Yeah.
position, and then holding your breath, and then literally you can't move. You can't
No, you
move.
can't
So
move.
you're 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 giving up your entire freedom, basically your liberty to the
Yeah.
people controlling the machine. And that was a very interesting,
Very scary. Yeah.
very scary experience, but it did give me a very comprehensive view of literally my entire body, how it looks on the inside.
Oh, so
And
they
then
didn't
right
only do the heart, but also the other
no,
organs of your body.
every
Okay.
single everything of
Wow.
the
Okay.
body. And
Awesome.
then right afterwards, we went and looked at the MRI scan, because I'm quite friendly with the research conductor. He's also a little bit of a bodybuilder, so we could
Okay.
we got along quite well. And then we went and watched some of the organs, like the liver, which was
Mhm.
luckily normal sized. The
Okay.
heart was a little bigger, but nothing, nothing to be scared
Mhm.
of or afraid of, for example. So some of the organs have been already tested like that, but only
Mhm.
once. And
Right.
but at least nothing strange came out of that one. And
Mhm.
I'm still going to get the more accurate results, like exactly how much fat I had at that point in time, which is
Mhm.
which they can actually measure, like manually measure the fat layer
Oh,
by
the fat.
layer.
Right, right, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
So that would give you, like, that's the absolute
Most
most
accurate, right?
accurate way
Yeah.
to measure it without literally, how do you call it when someone dies, to actually
Oh, yeah,
examine their
before
body.
before doing an autopsy, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be, of course, the most accurate way, but this is a very good alternative.
Uh-huh.
And
Cool.
but yeah, so I do have some experience with stuff like that. But I believe, as you're a professional.
Mhm.
We all say the word professional really quickly. We don't realize, okay, it actually means this is your profession. You should be
Mhm.
professional about your job. And part of the job is staying as healthy as possible
Right.
to
Mhm.
maintain your career for as long as you can, because, this
Exactly.
is your thing. And I do think that, me including, don't do
Mhm.
it enough. We don't do those actual organ imaging, and the consistency of it is lacking in the entire industry. And at least I still do very often, pretty often, my blood testing, my blood pressure, my blood glucose, and stuff like
Mhm.
this. But it's still pretty much on the surface. And the
Mhm.
organ imaging and what you do, that is going way deeper into your actual
Well,
state at the moment, yeah, at what you
to to be
really are.
to be fair, I'm in a point, right? I'm in Thailand, so
Yeah.
I can literally walk in. Like yesterday, I had my CT scan. I have the and the veins to
Oh
the
yeah.
veins to, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had my
Yeah.
CT scan yesterday. So they administered the radioactive iodine, which is
Hmm.
an experience all by itself. You really feel your
Yeah.
body start to glow.
Oh wow.
I'll make a video about it when I get the results. So I can basically walk into any private hospital, talk with the doctor, say that I'm concerned about my health because I took steroids. They will say, "Don't take steroids, but we understand your concern. Let's schedule an examination and get that done and pay it out of pocket." Now the prices here are
Mm.
not crazy. Like my CT
Yeah.
scan was about $1,000, and the
Hmm.
MRI, which I did last year with contrast, gadolinium, and adenosine triphosphate, which is makes you hyperventilate. It's crazy. It's a crazy experience. So you're in there for 2 hours in the MRI machine to image your heart. And then at the last moment, they administered adenosine triphosphate, makes you hyperventilate. So you're literally in there like,
Oh.
you feel your whole
Oh
body
yeah.
get hot. And then they administered the gadolinium to contrast the blood flow through your heart. So you're already in there anxiety ridden for 2 hours, and then they finish it off like that. It's the worst experience ever. And
Yeah.
I was small. I was like 90 kilos. I still couldn't fit.
No.
these
No.
these machines are not built for guys like us, you know. So I
No.
can't
No.
imagine how you would fit. So I'm in a little bit of a luxury position that I can do all these testing and pay it out of pocket because I'm financially secure. But in
Hmm.
Holland, it's preventative medicine is so difficult. Like I understand
Yeah.
that you can't do preventative medicine everywhere. You can't walk into the University of Amsterdam, the hospital that's attached to that, and say, "Hey, I'm a professional bodybuilder, and preventatively, I would like to have an ultrasound of my liver and the fibro scan, and
Yeah.
an ultrasound of my kidney and my prostate, and and a CT scan of my heart. It's
Yeah.
impossible. So, Wesley, you're welcome to join me in Thailand in your next off season, and I will take you to all of the hospitals, just like I took Aaron
Nice.
to all of the
Might
hospitals, and we'll get you sorted.
might take you up on that for sure. It would
Anytime,
provide good content as well.
for sure. We'll document it. I have the gimbal.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You
The
already have it.
the pro- we wanted to document it yesterday because Aaron did his kidney, his liver, his heart, right, all in one day. It was a great day. We were dead tired,
Mhm.
but we did it all in one day. And then I realized, okay, in the hospitals here, you're not supposed to film. So I brought my entire film kit, and we wanted to start documenting. And then the security came like, oh,
Oh
you can't do that. So
yeah,
we'll have to talk about it after we're done. Now, this organ imaging, I think it's very very important, but I also understand that it's difficult to do in some places,
yeah.
or highly expensive, like in the States. Some states it's almost unaffordable.
Hmm.
It's preventative medicine. So that's why we have medical tourism. But if you maybe
Yeah,
next time you go to the Olympia, and if you pass past Mexico, or where did you go last time?
yeah. I went to Mexico, to Cancun.
Yeah. There should be private hospitals there where you can just do it. Of course, it's during prep, so it's a little bit cumbersome, and maybe administering contrast and ATP is not such a good idea
Yeah,
during contest prep. But like standard organ imaging with the ultrasound,
yeah.
that should be pretty doable. So, and then if you're flying a lot, did you ever think about moving to Dubai or Kuwait and join the rest of the social media powerhouses?
I might have thought about it more seriously before starting a family, but right
Right.
now
Yeah.
I'm more settled here. We just got a new house this year as well. So
Congratulations. Nice.
you really want to, yeah, we're pretty settled here, but I'm
Uh,
always keeping an open mind because I've always thought I'm not gonna grow old only in the Netherlands. I'm probably going to move somewhere else. And yeah, and luckily the family, they also expect slash understand it and don't mind
mhm.
it, especially my immediate family, who will then of course travel with me, and
Mhm.
we'll probably then move place to place, but that's still in the pretty far future, I think. And right now things are going pretty well, and
Mhm.
I think in Europe there is it's growing more and more the of course also the professional bodybuilder, the
Right.
athletes like
Mhm.
Urs and Fabian, both number
Right.
4 and number 8 of the classic physique Olympia athlete, the top 10 basically.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's
The
going to
the
be
amount
more
of
and more.
the amount of good gyms in Holland alone has grown tremendously over the last 5
Yeah,
years. Like, I go back every couple of years to meet my family, and then I do some research, which are the cool gyms to visit. So next time I'll visit your gym also. And so every year I do research, and I see, okay, here's a cool hardcore gym in Rotterdam, and here's one in
yeah,
Amsterdam, right? And in Almere, more gyms are opening up. So it's good to see that the bodybuilding community is growing, because it was quite small 10 years
yes.
ago. We had our hardcore network, but it was completely dispersed to the
Hmm.
point every gym would have one or two huge guys, but not really
Yeah,
a local community.
no.
But you were able to create that, right? You have a little bit of a local bodybuilding community in your area now with your gym, and
Yeah,
and
especially my area is in Eindhoven. So
Mhm.
within that's actually officially the most populated gym city in the Netherlands. So there's the most
Oh,
gyms per amount of area in the entire Netherlands.
oh, so
And
that's very
but there,
competitive then.
yeah, it's very competitive,
Oh
but
man.
our own gym is actually in Best, which is
Mhm.
next to Eindhoven,
Mhm.
where we also live. But the
Mhm.
benefit is it's very close to the highway, so a lot of people can easily access it, and it's close
Ah,
to Eindhoven, so people can still go to it. And we're actually looking for a new location to expand the size of the gym, because we really want to invest into way more machines and
right.
to ultimately become the gym to go to in the Netherlands in the future.
Ah,
So that's
you
always, of course, been
so
a childhood dream.
so what you need is a business expense write-off to Kuwait. Check out Oxygen Gym there. To Bino's Gym in Dubai. Check out the gym there. To Muscle Factory Thailand. Check out
Oh
the
yeah,
gym here, because this gym is huge. and then you have a business expense to write off to get inspired, so you can
Yeah.
open up your own huge gym. And plus,
Yeah.
you can network a little bit where to buy all of the equipment. You know, there's
Hmm.
contacts in China where you can buy pretty decent sets of equipment and much cheaper than buying it from Panada directly.
Yeah,
You know, depending on what you want. Of course, if you want all exclusive Panada and hammer strength and live fitness equipment, you have to buy it directly. But in China, you can actually get pretty good, high quality stuff.
yeah.
You
The
know,
only time we get access to the Chinese companies is at the FIBO in Germany.
right, right,
So
right.
a couple of Chinese companies actually go there and showcase their equipment,
Mhm.
and it's like a brand you've never heard of, but when you try
Mhm.
it out, it's like, whoa, this is full range of motion. Like me and my girlfriend, we differ quite a lot in height. So if she can do full range of motion and me, then we know,
Mhm.
okay, most people are going to be able to do this
Right.
properly.
Exactly.
So we actually did get some Chinese machines a couple of
Cool.
years ago already, like a leg press, calf raise, cable station, net pull down, stuff like this, from that same brand. And ever since then, nothing has ever been wrong with those machines, and they're great. So
Oh,
you're
that's
right.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but the price was very cheap
Yeah.
compared to the premium brands for sure,
Right.
and the
It's probably
quality
just
is good as well. Yeah.
quality just as good. So usually in China they have the same factory that makes for hammer strength. They will have
Hmm.
they use all of the designs, and they'll change one little thing which you don't feel in the exercise performance. You can
Yeah.
even brand it. Like here at the Muscle Factory, they have their own branded Muscle Factory machines, which are
Hmm.
actually almost direct copies of hammer strength or live fitness or
Yeah.
whatever. And but they got it in China, and it's still good quality. You know, you can change the handles and the color, and it's quite good if you want
Yeah.
to open up a big gym. And I think Venus and Oxygen Gym did the same thing, because when you go to Oxygen Gym, you go to any floor, like the leg floor, it's the fourth
Yeah.
floor, I think, just
Yeah.
legs. It's insane, dude. It's
Yeah.
crazy,
It's
and it's all the
insane.
same color, all the best handles, but you clearly see like this is from a completely different company than this one, but it all has
Oh
the
yeah.
same theme. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Beta Budai set it up very, very nicely, and it's good to network. It's good to network
It
over
is.
there,
It
see
is.
what's up. So,
Yeah.
hope to see you here before the Olympia, buddy.
That will be a short notice, but
Yeah, yeah, man. So you're doing the Olympia and maybe a couple shows before. Anything planned
yes.
after?
Nothing directly planned after, depending on it always depends on how well I do at the Olympia and
Right.
how what we just talked about, how healthy I still am
Mhm.
slash feel. Because sometimes it's very nice to knock out another show to qualify for next year again. So maybe if you're like you're saying at the Olympia, I notice, oh, I'm very conditioned, but the
Mhm.
legs still need some size. So then doing a show right after might be
Yeah,
beneficial
you
to
can fill
extend
out.
the off
Yeah.
season for as long as possible to work on that size. So it kind of depends on the results. But I know for sure that doing multiple contests back to back, if it's not too much, works advantageously for my physique personally. Because every time I go drier and drier, and what I luckily I'm pretty much side effect free from a lot of things, including like I never feel really dead at prep, even though, for example, for
Yeah,
some
that's
shows I
right.
don't drink water. I don't drink
Mhm.
water for like 36 hours, and I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
okay,
Yeah,
I'm still
whatever.
quite fine, but
Uh,
maybe then my body won't show me or let me feel the side effects. But once it's too late, I just I just fall over, for example, without even
yeah.
ever noticing anything in advance. So that could
No,
also
but
happen.
I think guys that are built for this sport, they're very resilient,
Yeah,
to the low calorie diets, and the side effects. Like you don't, it doesn't look like you experience any hair loss either.
I actually did,
Oh,
but I
really?
reversed it. I
Oh,
used Derek's
oh, that's right. That's
knowledge.
right. I saw that on your
Yeah,
YouTube channel. Yeah,
yeah,
you grow your hair back. It looks great,
yeah.
dude. I
Thank
would
you.
say you're like almost immune, but I choose to shave
Yeah,
it. But it
yeah.
looks like you never lost a hair in your
I
life, but you reversed it.
no. Yeah, I back when I was in puberty, my hair was so thick, and
Mhm.
I also didn't go to the hairdresser for like years. So
Uh,
I had like long, very weird haircut, but it was
yeah,
thick,
yeah.
long. I had a lot of hair, and I was like,
Tarzan.
Yeah,
Tarzan
exactly. So
Tarzan
I
was
I
your
was like,
nickname.
"This hair is never gonna go away no matter what I
Mm,
try." And for years, it was the case. It kept being thick, I never worried about it
mm,
until one day, or not really a day, but I looked at a video because I started recording myself, of course, a lot, and then
yeah.
from the back, I started to look through my hair and saw my scalp for the first
Oh,
time. And I was like,
yeah.
"Ooh, that means listening to Derek," because I
Yeah.
subscribed to Derek when he had like 12,000 subscribers because I
Oh,
thought
that's a long time
his
ago, yeah.
content was very interesting with the
Mhm.
hair loss. And I didn't realize people were so interested in that because I never experienced it back then.
Right.
But luckily, I followed his videos because when I lost it myself, I used his knowledge to
Mhm.
quickly reverse it back
Yeah.
and to keep it that way. And now the
Awesome.
ultimate test, of course, will be this coming contest prep. Will I be able to keep everything as it is now? That's
Right.
going to be the ultimate test whether all the methods truly work for the long term.
Right.
And that's going to be very interesting for sure. And I think it's important right now. I realize how sensitive of a subject it can be for most men because I
Mhm.
posted that video and my neighbors, my family members, a lot of people I never expected asked me,
Mhm.
"Okay, where do I get this stuff? How do I do this? How do I?" Because
Right.
everybody is thinking about it, but no one is truly saying it out loud until someone
Yeah.
like me in their surrounding does it, and then they feel comfortable enough to ask, "Okay, how can you help me?" For
Yeah.
example. So it's
The
very eye opening.
male, it's not really male beauty, but it's like male appearance. It's still a little bit taboo, you know. And then
Yeah,
even though we're building our muscles, that's considered macho. But then if you want to prevent
yeah.
hair loss or do some sort of laser therapy, you know, to remove hair of particular areas, that's
Mhm.
still a little bit, you know, untalked about. I think it will get more open in the future. You know, I mean, if you go
Yep.
to South Korea, all those men are highly into beauty products.
Mhm.
It's insane. It's insane. But
Yeah.
like for our sport, you know, the steroids are more accepted probably than trying to use particular products to save our hair.
Yeah, it's insane, right?
It's so funny is it? So
Yeah.
can you give us a brief overview of your protocol, of what you did for the hair loss?
Yeah, sure. So the most important thing is finasteride, lowering DHT, which is for most people the main cause to miniaturize those hair follicles.
Right.
So that's the first thing you want to tackle, and keep estrogen relatively high. So like
Mhm.
you're also advising yourself in the higher end of the reference range, right,
Right.
to give the most benefits still without the side effects. And that also helps keep your hair healthy, intact. On top of that, what a lot of people don't realize is micro needling is very effective for hair.
Mhm.
As Derek says, it can double the effect of whatever you're doing. And like minoxidil, which I'm also
Mhm.
using as a topical that actually helps promote hair growth wherever on the body that you use it. So
Mhm.
even for someone who wants to have a fuller beard, for example, can also use minoxidil there along with the
Mhm.
micro needling. And also a shampoo with
Yeah.
it's hard to pronounce the keto.
Ketoconazole?
Yes, yes, sir. You can do it
Ketoconazole, yeah,
quick.
it took me
Yeah.
400 takes to get it right.
Yeah, I still have to
I
practice
yeah.
it.
It's
But
it's a
yeah,
pain.
that's
Did
that
did you get the 5%, 2%, 10% ketoconazole shampoo?
2%. 2%
Okay,
is the
pretty low.
highest available percentage in the Netherlands that is still legal, I think.
Mhm.
And so I used that for a long time, but I used like a very cheap. It's not a cheap shampoo. It was actually quite expensive, but the
Mhm.
other ingredients to help your hair look good were actually not in there at all. It was just that compound to help
Uh-huh.
reduce the inflammation on your scalp, for example.
Yeah.
But the end result didn't look good, so I actually went for a more expensive shampoo with also that
Mhm.
compound, but with other ingredients in there as well, from
Is it the
DS
what? Yeah,
Laboratories.
DS Laboratories, right. I saw
Yeah,
that linked on your video. Yeah,
yeah,
that seems
that
to be a very solid, company
yes,
against hair
yes, they
loss.
are very
Yeah.
good.
And how long was your protocol? Like, how long
I
did you do it
think
before you started noticing results?
I think I noticed it already about after 3 months, because what you wanna do, what
Mhm.
is very important is that you should wait for the new hair to grow back again. Because of
Ah,
course, like Derek says, you only notice the hair loss when about half of your hair has already fallen out or
right.
miniaturized. So you have to wait until that hair that is right now gone has
Hmm.
grown to a substantial length that you actually notice that it is back. So it took about 3 months, and then I noticed, whoa, it's actually working. And then
Okay.
you are really surprised that this stuff that you've always thought about, that you try out and actually does work. And luckily, no side effects. This is something that's very important too.
Right.
Finasteride or dutasteride, for example,
Hmm.
lowering DHT,
Right.
that can have like libido, erectile dysfunction. Luckily, I didn't notice this at all. But
Okay. Good.
for some people, it might be a problem, which is something you have to look out for and do a research before even trying a protocol like this.
Yeah, I think if you take your baseline readings for DHT and you kind of look at your family history, so if you see that your dad or grandparents are getting bolder,
Yeah.
at later age, then of course steroid use will speed that up for sure, right? Most of the steroids are DHT derivatives, or testosterone converts to DHT, so you take more, you get more DHT. So if you do a baseline and look into your family history, and then you start with a low dose finasteride and maybe build that way up before you ever consider dutasteride, because that stays in your system for such a long time. So finasteride would be the first thing to look into, and maybe
Hmm.
maybe you can get good results with using like salt palmetto with PyGM,
Yeah,
but
I try.
most people would eventually resort to finasteride after using that, because in most cases it's not potent enough, but it might still be enough, you know.
Yeah, I did for a while. I did finasteride one day and then saw palmetto in between to
Hmm.
to reduce the amount of medication I was using.
Right.
Because I've known about salt palmetto for a long time for the prostate health, but at the same
Hmm.
time, yes, it can lower DHT to a level that's maybe enough for some people. The only problem is it just takes a long time before you notice, and it would be a
Yeah.
shame if you then wait 3 months and then it doesn't actually work. So then you
Right.
wasted like 3 months on a supplement that
Right.
doesn't really do its job.
You can determine it with blood work. So let's say you do a month
Yeah,
on saw palmetto and PyGym, you get your DHT before and after, and then if you need more inhibition, you can always switch to a low dose finasteride and build that up as
isn't
required. And if that's really working, you can switch to the tasteride, which has way
isn't
longer acting.
Pie Gym also good for something else?
What for the libido and erectile quality?
Yeah, I think there's like a certain
Let's see.
stack you can use to increase a certain volume or something.
Oh, in the load. Yeah, so Derek has a load stack.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
were
yeah.
we're des we were designing that in the background. So there's actually a lot of stuff you can take for load stack. It will never beat Clomid. Right? Clomid will give you the biggest loads ever.
Yeah.
Like that's a porn star secret. But Gorilla Mind lock and load. I don't think it has Pygym in there. It has soy lecithin and a couple other ingredients. And yeah, a lot of people are having a very healthy and happy sex life because of these kind of things.
Yeah, that's also like a subject that men like it's a taboo to talk about, but still a lot of men care about it. So yeah, why
Of
not make a
course.
supplement about it?
Right, exactly. And a lot of stuff is behind closed doors. So when I started my YouTube channel, a lot of stuff was behind closed doors, and it still is. Like the most absurd video that I ever made was about the rectal absorption of anadrol, which works. I know you're already like raising your eyebrow, but during prep, when your digestion is messed up and you need to make weight, and it's very
Hmm.
difficult to backload the carbs, and you might have to do liquid carbs or even IV carbohydrates. The first day, yeah, because the digestion is this is like
Yeah,
extreme weight loss. A 90-kilo guy wants to compete in the 80-kilo or
yeah,
75-kilo class. That is extreme stuff. So don't duplicate what I used to recommend to my clients. And in that case, digestion is so messed up that it might be better to microdose your anadrol rectally so it doesn't inhibit absorption of nutrients.
hmm,
Because anadrol during a carb load is actually quite
yeah,
beneficial. And there are guys that really, no matter, even if they do it during the off season. So that was one way to circumvent it. And I've made videos about this. And of course, nobody's going to do it. But in a unique, hopefully not, in a unique set of circumstances, it might be beneficial. Same as with,
yeah,
monstrous ejaculations. I discussed everything in the load stack and how to, improve your semen volume by staying away from trin or nandrolone or
yeah,
some other stuff that, because like progestogenic 19-ors, they same like Trestolone. Trestolone was actually developed as an anti-contraceptive. And as a result of that, your semen volume just goes to zero,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You're coming, but nothing comes out. Dust. You're shooting dust. And with Trembolone and Nandrolone, it's similar. So you make a video about this. That, hey, just avoid these compounds if you want to have a lot of semen volume. And I just want
Yeah.
everything to be talked about
Hmm.
because it's including the organ imaging, and it's catching on now.
Yeah.
I just hope that the medical system will be more in our favor. You know,
Yeah. I
'cause
agree. I agree.
it's like if me and you walk into a Western hospital, they know right away that we took steroids, right? Because we're
Yeah.
big. We have a nice thick jaw and a lot of hair. And they know right away, and big arms. And they know right away what's going on. And so if you're a heroin addict, it will help you. If you want to
Yeah.
transition from a male to a female, they will help you. But if you want to be more masculine and build some muscle tissue and your health starts to decline because of that, they don't really want to help you. So
Yeah.
we're
So,
yeah, we're trying to navigate the best way possible. But
yeah. Yeah.
your hair came back beautifully. So that was an awesome protocol. You have a video on your YouTube channel, right?
Yes, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It's because one day I posted just a workout video and they saw the difference between the previous workout video and that one. And they were like,
Mhm.
whoa, what happened to your hair? So I wasn't even going to make a video about it. But then a lot of people just asked me, okay, well, what did you do? And I thought that because of Derek's enormous channel, that everybody kind of already knew what you needed to do. But apparently, there's still a lot of people who have no idea. So that's
Yeah.
why I made the video, and a lot of people are happy with the truth regarding what I did. So it still helps a lot of people with that issue.
And so it's funny about YouTube, you make a video and then they know about Derek, but they didn't watch those videos on hair loss
Yeah,
because they watched for
exactly.
something else. Yeah. You always think that your entire audience watches all the videos that you post, but they'll watch a couple and then miss
Yeah.
some of the important information. So
Hmm.
you'll have to remake it again.
Yeah.
So that's something I learned on YouTube as well. Hey, how's the Dutch bodybuilding scene nowadays? Like I've left for such a long time. I know about you and I know
Hmm.
about William Bonac, and that's about it. But you said there was an up and comer, one of your clients, and who's else new on the? I've seen some pictures float by on your Instagram page about really good guys.
Yeah, sometimes because I also coach some international people. It might have been
Mhm.
some international people
Oh,
because
okay.
in the Netherlands, the big problem was for quite a while. It was very difficult to do competitions here because
Mhm.
ever since the split of the organizations,
Mhm.
the IFBB Elite organization was the main organization who did all the contests here in the Netherlands. That's what
Okay.
the ones I did as well.
Mhm.
Back when I was a super heavyweight, they were all under that flag. But now the NPC competitions have been coming to the Netherlands, like the William Bonac Classic, for example,
Mhm.
since 2019, I believe. But those, it's still been a struggle to get those back to the popularity of the original Dutch contests, how popular they were, like 8 years ago or something when I
Mhm.
did them. And so um, not a whole lot of talent is coming out of the Netherlands at the moment. Some people are going to the Olympia, but they're flying under the radar. Like I was
Mhm.
even surprised to hear some people, oh, you also went to the Olympia, like in some female classes, for example, or
Uh-huh.
to even hear that other Dutch people also went. So
Right. Yeah.
obviously, since I'm in the Dutch bodybuilding scene, but
Mhm.
I view myself in the international bodybuilding scene because
Mhm.
you're not really that connected anymore with, even though I live in the Netherlands, you're not that connected with that scene as much. The
Mhm.
only thing that I do is give posing classes for the NPC athletes here. So for people who want to do local NPC shows, I provide
Mhm.
those posing classes under the official
Okay. Cool.
brand of the NPC. So I'm always available to help them with that. And I've done guest posings in the past as well for their shows, all to help the popularity of the NPC here in the
Right.
Netherlands.
Did
Because
really
it's
everybody move to IFBB Elite then over the
yeah,
last couple of
there's
years?
some good people like
Mhm.
I don't know, Siem Goossens is a Dutch athlete with
Mhm.
you may have actually seen him sometimes. He's posted on Bodybuilders Without Borders. Like
All
he's
right.
an
Yeah.
insane V taper. And he's also wants to do classic physique. And he was, I believe, first an IFBB Pro Elite a professional bodybuilder there. But I
Okay.
never understood, why would you go to that organization where you know that the end of the line is
Yeah.
reached so quickly? I mean, there's no Olympia. There's one Arnold Classic,
Hmm.
which is, there are a lot of athletes there, but it's
Yeah.
because that's all they have. It's
Hmm.
there's nothing else. So to me, that was
They have
always very strange.
yeah, they have the world championships, but that's not IFBB elite. I think that's still the amateur ranks, because
That's the
elite
amateurs. Yeah.
implies, yeah, implies a pro card, and of course they do get prize money for that. And at the world championships, some of the countries get prize money also from their
Yeah.
government. So if you compete for Holland at the world championships, you get nothing. We had
Exactly.
a Dutch,
Yeah.
we had like one Dutch athlete at the world championships, the WBPF world championships. He
Hmm.
flew to Bangkok or to Thailand, and then we have the world championships in Pattaya. So it's about 2 hours from Bangkok. He was the only Dutch athlete. He won men's physique, hands down. He had the best physique, right? He won. And I asked him, "Do you get any prize money from the Dutch government?" He said, "No, man, I paid everything myself. There's
Yeah.
Our federation is tiny, looked
That
phenomenal."
federation, actually, that's a lot of things went on behind the scenes that are,
Oh, you tell me about it. Tell
well,
me
that
about it.
yeah, the problem is I don't actually know a whole lot about it, but I
I know
heard a
way too
lot of
much.
weird things, and I don't want to make accusations if I'm not sure exactly.
We'll talk when we end the broadcast.
Sure,
I I,
sure. But
I was coaching in that federation for, well, while my wife was competing there, and it's yeah, I'm glad she stopped competing.
yeah, yeah.
Let's
It
just put
it
it that way.
when the organizations were still one, it was a
Mm.
nice atmosphere. But once it broke apart, everything just went downhill for them. And that's when exactly in that year, I went to the embassy and I got some very angry messages from that organization when I won my pro card, that how I
They're bullies.
betrayed them. And
They're
because of
bullies
course I
because
was one of their athletes. They
yeah,
wanted to use me as their image, their face. But if I would have stayed with them, my career would have been nothing. It's
no,
maybe I would
no.
have been seen as like Michael Crusoe, I think, like the
Mm.
top guy of the IFBB elite. Like, what if he competes at the IFBB Pro League? But that's worth nothing.
But
You
like
actually have,
most of the networking you do backstage,
yeah,
right? So if you're competing in the IFBB, the real IFBB, then you meet all the people, right? That are part of the fitness industry that we all look up to. Like, we know people because of the IFBB, and IFBB
yeah,
can always do better, but it's still the best option that all the
hmm,
athletes have.
for sure.
Besides competing in like IFBB World Championships or WBPF World Championships, where the athletes get paid. So, for example, my wife, when she won the World Championships, she made 1 million baht, but the Thai government
Wow,
paid that. Yeah, yeah, $33,000,
that's
and then
that's a lot.
400,000. Yeah, 400,000 baht for the Asian Championships. Right, so that's how government sponsored. So she represented Thailand. She didn't represent the federation. She represented Thailand, and
Ah,
because she
yeah,
represented Thailand and won, went on TV to promote the sport, went on TV to promote Thailand. She got prize money from the government, and of course, the federation gets a kickback out of that, the Thai federation. So they take care of the athletes quite well, but that's not the same in every country. And then it's basically the World Championships, it's like the Olympics. It's war
yeah,
between countries, and all the
yes,
stuff that goes back, on the background. Oh, it's a
yeah.
nightmare to deal with.
You're
It's
right that
bad.
every country is different, because to the European Championship, for example, or the World Championships, you go there usually as a team. But some
Yeah.
teams, they are entirely sponsored by the government, like you're
Mhm.
saying, and they every expense is paid for, and they're going there in luxury, basically. But the
Right.
Dutch team usually is like,
Oh, you pay everything yourself. Yeah,
you
the
have to
Dutch
pay
guys
everything
pay everything.
yourself.
Yeah.
And it's because maybe one of the reasons is you have the big sports organizations here from the government. It's like the KNVB. It's like
Yeah. Mhm.
where they include certain sports that go to the
Yeah, I don't
Olympics,
know.
but
Yeah.
certain other sports like bodybuilding is not included. So even if you're
No.
a professional bodybuilder, they don't consider you as officially a professional athlete in the Netherlands. So
Mm.
you're nothing to them. So because when I did my study, nutrition and dietetics, the first year, I had a very good mentor, and he wanted to apply me as a top sport athlete in the Netherlands,
Oh, really? That's
which would
cool.
give me extra time for like some tests and some extra days off. But because bodybuilding wasn't a part of the KNVB, the organizations, I couldn't get arranged anything for me. So even though
Shame, man.
I had to go abroad for my contests, I still had to abide to the same exact rules as other students who were just chilling and not doing anything, for example. So,
Right.
so yeah,
Shame, man. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's a shame. True.
Yeah. So here they if you're in the national team, they support the athletes very, very well, but that comes with some extra restrictions. So my wife could, if she were to drink alcohol, she could not show the brand. And she should
Yeah.
could show a glass of wine, but she cannot promote a particular brand of wine
Yeah.
or show Heineken, for example. So it was some
Mm.
weird restrictions. So it was good while it lasted. But from all of my experience coaching people in different federations, I would say either PCA
Yeah.
as an amateur sport is good, or the IFBB, right? You do the MB show amateur and the IFBB pro, and other federations, it's a lot of politics, a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
drama.
True.
Yeah,
True.
so it's good that you went with the IFBB pro because right, most of your connections it's just coming from backstage. You know, you meet
Yes.
people there, and they're all in the same sport. You can do collaborations. It's good for social media,
Yeah.
and and again, the other federations are a headache backstage.
Yeah. Or the schedule
Let's
is
yeah.
horrible as well. Like you're going
Yeah.
up at 2 p.m. and you're lucky if you're there at 6 p.m., for example. That's how
Yeah,
terrible some of them are.
some of the weigh-ins are horrible. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not dirty any words about this
No,
shit.
no, no.
So let's close off with these issues in open bodybuilding. Like you're going to stay in classic, obviously,
Yeah.
but what do you think that open bodybuilding needs to change for that sport to become healthier? Like it will never be healthy. Like open bodybuilding will still push boundaries with drugs and practices. What do you think needs to change in open bodybuilding for it to right to prevent people from dying? We've heard Fuad Abiad talk about it. We've heard Seth
Yeah.
Ferosi talk about it. A couple other open bodybuilders. But I'd like to get your opinion as a classic physique guy who's been there for many years and competes at the highest level. What do you think open bodybuilders can do to stay healthy and prevent themselves from dying in the long run?
Yeah. It's such a loaded question because, like you said, there are many people with different opinions. And whenever you listen to someone, you're like, oh, maybe that could work, but then this is the effect. Like Fuad, for example, trying to make it like a bigger classic physique, basically.
Hmm.
Um, it's like you have to find the limit. Okay, this is the weight people can be, the bodybuilders, and it's still considered a freak sport, so it's still interesting
Yeah.
enough to be considered different from classic physique. But if you go above that, then you're just creating only health issues without any extra positive effect anymore for the freak factor. Because if Big Ramy, for example, is 15 kilos lighter, he's still
Hmm.
going to be considered like a freak to anybody. If you
Yeah.
never saw Big Ramy with like 30 pounds more muscle and he was always 30 pounds less, the opinion would still be exactly the same. But
Yeah, it's
now,
still
because we
huge.
know, yeah, it's still enormously huge. So, but now that we know those super big bodybuilders, also like Ronnie Coleman in the past, you always compare every top bodybuilder to the very best, the biggest, the most dry.
2003 Ronnie.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to compare every single time to that, no one is ever going to beat that anyway. So,
Mhm.
so you can never achieve this. So, in your mind, you're thinking about, well, maybe the coaches should have some kind of certificate of knowledge for health to be able to provide to the athletes that they
Mhm.
coach. Maybe there should be a little more strict, um, you know, to apply for a competition
Mhm.
in terms of what you should show about your own well-being. But it's so difficult to make happen, especially since some shows are already struggling with getting enough athletes as it
Yeah.
is without
Mhm.
any restrictions. So, and it's not like the sport is overflowing with money, and every thing that you want to restrict is going to cost money and not bring money to
Mhm.
the table, which doesn't really motivate anybody. in the organizations, I think.
No,
So
I agree. I agree.
yeah, so the best thing you can really do is the athletes themselves. Like, for example, if you look at me, the only reason why I'm now more healthy than before is because I've now have the knowledge gained. So the knowledge needs to be available through the official channels of the IFBB Pro League, and it should be
Ah,
very easily accessible. Like, for example, you can very easily buy a live stream instead of doing those commercials of the sponsors in between. Do a commercial
mm.
that gives you, fun, creative, but informative insight in how to be more healthy as a bodybuilder. Instead of discount code for a supplement, give discount code for a blood test,
Mm.
for example. Just focus a lot on the health and make it cool to be healthy,
We
so that
should we
it's
should
not.
get the Mayo Clinic from the States. It's like the best
Yeah,
hospital in the world, right? Should get the
yeah,
Mayo Clinic to do some little sort of quick adverts with a couple bodybuilders,
yeah,
and instead of we're going to the gym. Like people always laugh when I take bodybuilders here to the blood work screening. They laugh their asses off because it's like
yeah,
mandatory. You come to Thailand, you come with me, we go do
yeah,
some blood work. But actually, you're right. You can make some sort of commercial like that, where a couple bodybuilders go to the Mayo Clinic or another clinic
yeah,
that is willing to sponsor, and say, "Hey, we did our workouts, we did our foods, might have done some injections off screen, and and now we go do our organ imaging and blood work."
yeah,
And no, that's a very good idea. At least it creates more awareness for the
yeah.
athletes to stay healthy, because
It's
it's
all
it's it's
about.
on the biggest stage.
Yeah, and the culture needs to change too, because it's awesome when you're a hardcore bodybuilder and you're lifting heavy weights and you're a pussy if you don't do squats, for example. That mentality needs to be applied to the health as well. So if you don't do your health screening, then you're a
You're a
pussy,
pussy.
for example, and then you're not cool, and then you're not part of the hardcore crew who also takes care of their health. And when that switch comes and it becomes fun to actually find out about
Mhm.
your health,
Yeah.
that's when it really works, I think.
I think so. Yeah, that's very very well spoken. I agree. So I've been trying to do my part in that aspect, and I know a lot of more athletes are doing it. So hopefully you can post your blood work results as well. Oh,
Mm.
someone having fun flying too much. So I think that will change. Like I think if guys that are really in front of the sport, so like myself, not myself, I'm not competing, but guys who are transparent about their use are also transparent about their blood work results and organ imaging, and the guys that are competing at the highest level do something similar, not really talk about the drugs, but about the organ imaging. I think that would help a lot. And guys that had issues in the past are really actively
Yeah.
showing on camera to resolve it. So guys like Fuad Abiad, for example, who has some kidney issues, and other pro bodybuilders who clearly had kidney issues but were never open about it, because they're scared to talk about it. If
Mhm.
those guys would come forward and said, "Listen, I took a lot of risks to be the best. This is the result, and this is what I need to do to get healthy again, or maybe my health is compromised, and now I can't really do this sport of bodybuilding at the extreme level anymore." If more people come forward and take a step back and show that journey backwards, right, from freaky guy to a fit guy that has good health again, I think that would help the sport tremendously. I
I
think that
think
would
so
help the
too.
sport. Yeah.
The examples, like the biggest names in the industry, if they indeed show the truth, be
Hmm.
transparent about their health and how they fix their health, then it
Hmm.
becomes cool to actually work on your health
I
as
think so.
well.
I think
Because we
so.
all
Yeah.
look at Ronnie Coleman, we're like, whoa, he did some awesome stuff in the gym. But
Mhm.
what's more awesome, how is someone like that working on his health, for example? That would be
Right.
awesome to see for me.
I would love to see that. Yeah, I don't think everybody would follow in those footsteps, but the more that are willing to do it, right, the more health conscious everybody should become, and they also understand the long term risks, because unfortunately, the long term risks are still not known. Right, there's no long term studies besides testosterone studies, and we are basically our own lab rat test subject in that matter. So I think, yeah, I think that would be very beneficial for the next generation to see, what, maybe pro bodybuilding isn't that healthy, and if for the guys that got unhealthy, which issues did they get? It's mostly kidney and heart related. So that might be a deterrent, but it also means that the guy that do blow up on their first cycle, they actually realize, like, wait, I don't need to use so much, and I have a place to go because I respond way better than everybody else. you know? I
Yeah,
think
I
also,
agree.
yeah, I think also the judging criteria. So instead of rewarding the freaks, which was a very big part of the 90s and the early 2000s, and even now until 2010s, 20s, I think if you go a little bit more to a physique like Rafael Brandao, right, which is a big guy, right, way too big for classic, but still a super nice flowy physique and gets in
Yeah.
shape. I think if they say, okay, this is the new standard, then those freaks will kind of, okay, the last generation, they will never be able to get back to the Brandeo physique. But once they start rewarding those kinds of physiques, then people would be more motivated to stay smaller, work on their vacuum, work on their detail and their separation and their conditioning, and not really try to push over that limit where, guys ruin their physique. I know several pros who really want to, they go from mint physique to classic, and then they want to make a push in open. And then once they're in open, they look horrendous. You know,
Yeah,
I-
true.
no,
I
not
agree.
naming any names, but like if you get bald just to, and you grow a thick beard just to jump weight classes and you lose all of your separation when you looked
Uh,
beautiful in classic,
yes,
looking,
I know an
it's a
example, exactly an
it's a
example
shame.
that you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a shame. So, I think if the judging criteria changes a little bit, and it might take another decade, right? Because now Rami is
Yeah,
king, and there's plenty of
true.
freaks on his heels. But I would prefer like a 2011, 2013 Phil Heath, a little bit
Yeah.
smaller, more streamlined, and just keep that as the standard, And then a guy like Rafael Brandeo can compete with that, or a
Mhm.
Regan Grimes if he gets in a little bit better conditioning, right? Regan's got a beautiful shape,
Yeah.
and even now that he's working with Milos, I feel that he's getting a little bit overly big, and he's still young enough. Yeah, he's still young enough that he can say, okay, I'm going to take a step back and work on my social media instead,
Yeah,
which he's a huge social media persona.
exactly.
Um, and I think the last thing, and this might be very controversial, is for coaches to reel their clients back in.
Yeah.
Said, hey,
Yeah.
you don't need to take all these drugs. You don't need to be this big on stage. But of course, the judging criteria would need to change first for the
Mhm.
coaches to say, okay, your blood work is off. We're not doing a show for the next 9 months.
Yeah.
I've recommended this many times, and then the client either switches coaches or they say, "Okay, Steve, you're right. Yeah, it is right. You can't control the client. I will just go with somebody else." But if I say I don't feel comfortable recommending you a particular protocol to be competitive because your health is compromised, let's take a step back.
Mhm.
You know, you only get,
Yeah. I
because they do
think
listen to the coach, but
the
it's tough.
responsibility of a coach,
Mhm.
if you're truly honest, you can recognize if someone is even made for the stage or not.
Yeah,
So you should, and it's hard, of course, to maybe ruin someone's
come on.
dream. But if you know
It's
in
a livelihood.
advance, if you know in advance, okay, the next 10 years, you can do everything in your power, but you will never even become pro. And
Mhm.
you can save yourself all of the money, the health problems, and anything that comes along with it.
Mhm.
I think if a coach can persuade some of those athletes to not pursue at least like an open bodybuilding class, that would also save a lot of health problems and even lives in the future. Because I honestly, there's some people that I coach, and they have big dreams, but I try to reel them in, because for
Mhm.
me, and that you can only do that really if you are confident in your coaching ability, and that you
Mhm.
know that the clients will come to you because of your ability, and that you're not afraid of losing a client when you're saying something like this.
Yeah.
Because if you are hanging on to a threat in terms of income, then it's going to be
Mhm.
difficult to deny like a client. You're going to want to help them because you rely literally
Yeah, you
on
need the
that
money.
client. Yeah.
You need the money, and a lot of clients or a lot of coaches, they work on the before and after pictures, right? Which I don't think is anything bad with that if you want to promote
Hmm.
your services. But every time I see the before and after pictures, I'm like, what about the before and after blood work? What about the
Yes.
before and after
Yeah.
organ? And those are never posted. So I never really
Yeah. That's a
posted
good
those
one.
before and after pictures. I would do that with myself, plus the
Hmm.
blood work changes and the organ changes. But with my clients, I never did that because that's not the full story, right? Looking okay here and then phenomenal there. That's
Yeah.
not the full story.
Yeah.
So
That's a good
it's
one.
hard because there's so much money involved. And
Yeah.
you see a lot of clients, they vicariously live through their athletes. They don't have the genetics, they don't
Hmm.
have what it takes. And they have one or two clients that they then like put on a fuckload of drugs,
Yeah.
make it to the Olympia stage and place very high. But is that really healthy? Is that
Mhm.
responsible? Okay, they accomplished their dreams, but you might shorten their life for it. I think,
Yes.
coaches could do a lot better. And
Yeah.
for me, right now, I'm basically stopped coaching competitive athletes because I realize it's very hard to reel them back in.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
it's very it's very hard, man. It's like
Yeah.
I've had so many discussions with guys at the World Championships, and you do blood work a month out, and everything is fucked, like horrible, And I still want to compete and make a weight class 10 kilos lighter, So in the end, the
Mm.
diuretics and the sauna and all the crazy stuff that you need to do to get somebody in the weight class,
Mhm.
it's detrimental to your health. And then I'm there in the hotel room wondering, like, how's this guy still standing?
Yeah.
How's this guy still
Oy.
walking around?
Yeah.
So, after a decade of that, I just realized, it may be better if I stop because even under my guidance, when I'm super health conscious, not everybody's listening, and if you're really health conscious, you might not be competitive.
It's true. I think even like that's a strong statement because you're probably one of the few coaches who is actually that health conscious and actually not just conscious but also knowledgeable about what to do about like if
Mhm.
they show the blood work to you, in most instances you would know how to make those values go within the reference range in most cases. But
After the
for I
competition,
think
but not during, not
no,
during.
no, but you would know what to do
Yeah,
to at
right.
least improve the values. But most coaches, I don't think they have any clue. I think
No.
they rely on genetically gifted people who may
Mhm.
not run into health issues that quickly, and then they can bring them very far. And if someone is like right in between, like they're just good enough to become a pro, but at the
Mhm.
same time they have to take quite a lot of stuff and run into health problems. Those are the people that really need help
Yeah.
with their values because the
Right.
genetically gifted, they're going to be on top pretty much regardless, and they will probably get away with a lot of stuff they do. But if
Yeah.
the all the guys in between, like even if you talk about Cedric McMillan, for example,
Mhm.
of course he's genetically very gifted, but you can see that if you compare him to the very top, he was still missing like a little bit of conditioning, and that's maybe where a coach or he himself would try to do something more extreme to bring that
Mhm.
conditioning to the table. And that's exactly the point where you need someone very smart to reel that protocol back in because you know of the repercussions that protocol might cause. And maybe
Right.
a lot of those bodybuilders are in that scenario where they want to push it that extra percent and they have to do like
Mhm.
50% more to make 1% more difference. And
Mhm.
that's where you go very sideways and very
Yeah,
south
you
very
go
quickly.
overboard. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very overboard. Yeah. No, it's a very tough thing to change, and that's why I like classic so much because it's less
Yeah.
extreme,
Yeah.
and the ideal picture prevents you from going crazy, right? You need to
Hmm.
pull a vacuum. You can't over diuretic yourself because you just look flat. You need to still look,
It doesn't work.
full.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
instead of right really squeezing down into a weight class like with open bodybuilding, for example, at the world championships, where you can be right super dehydrated and flat and no food for 3 days and then load up with drugs. With classic, you can't do that because you need to pull a vacuum,
Yeah.
and it also forces you during the off season to either come off entirely because you're at the top of the weight limit anyway,
Yeah.
or use nothing,
Yeah.
like an ampule of test. So I'm sure your off seasons right now look like people wouldn't believe you. So let's not even talk about it.
Yeah.
People wouldn't believe you anyway.
Yeah, but you're right. In the off season, what I'm looking for is I want to work on the weak points. It's not about
Mhm.
building the mass anymore. Once you have this mass and you're close to your weight limit, even with the minimal amount that you take, you're still going to gain some muscle because, of
Yeah.
course, when you're an Olympian athlete, you will have genetics to build muscle with very
Right.
little. If you're a nutrition and your training and supplementation is on point, you only need a little bit of assistance to
Mhm.
get a little bit more muscle on those weak points. And that's the only kind of improvement you can make within your weight
Mhm.
limit anyway. So
Right.
yeah, that's a
Right.
big
No.
benefit of this class.
No, I know because I've coached a couple guys at Classic, and I've done many consultations with Classic pros. And during the off season, they can't run anything, or they go completely off. and they take everything out and maybe cruise on a little bit of test, and that's it. And then of course nobody would
Yeah.
believe them because everybody expects them to be on tons of milligrams of gear. So
Yeah.
right, but it just the weight class forces it, and the standard also, because I think if we do a weight class for open bodybuilding that's maybe 30 pounds heavier, those guys would just come down with 40 pounds to get into the weight class
Yeah.
and then load up, and then they still have constipation and a full stomach, and it probably would look worse, and they'll do
True.
more extreme, probably do more extreme stuff
Yeah.
to get
It's
themselves into that
it's
weight class.
with that being said, then you think about it's not only about the weight, it's about what the class is about. So
Yeah.
one thing that Steve Weinberger said once,
Mm,
the head judge of the Olympia,
mm,
he said classic physique. Listen to what it's called. It's classic physique, like men's physique. Open
mhm.
bodybuilding, that's about building the most muscle. But classic physique is about creating the physique that fits the class.
Right.
Not the, like, I think like Rough Diesel and some other competitors, they are still pretty way below their weight limit. And
I think
still
he has 10
they
pounds,
are,
10 pounds to
yeah.
go. And he's one of the,
So,
he's got one of the most balanced physiques in the sport. That's why you win the Arnold Classic.
yeah,
That's a phenomenal physique. So I think open bodybuilders would never give themselves like, okay, I'm good here. I'm not
exactly.
going to grow more. But in
Yeah.
classic, there's I think Chris Bumstead is also 5 pounds under the weight limit.
Yeah. He was like maybe even, yeah, in between 5 and 10 pounds under for a
Mhm.
few years, I think. And
Yeah.
like last year, he was getting closer because, of course, he's making good progress, especially on his back. But he's
Yeah.
still, yeah, he's still under. But I do know, and like you said earlier, also with the very low caloric diet, he
Mhm.
did that in order to get
Yeah.
below the weight limit, but then with the diet, and not, I
Yeah.
don't think, with anything extreme. So that's the
No.
proper way to do that within that class.
Yeah, which is not very exciting to hear, but that's the
No.
reality of it. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
well, what did you do to get so lean? Well, I ate less and I did
yeah.
more cardio.
That's
What about the GW1516 and the thyroid and the GH and the DMP? And you wouldn't look like that because you just burned the candle from both ends. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's
It's
interesting to
it,
know about it, but at the highest level, it's genetics and
yeah.
the basics, and trying to keep yourself as healthy as possible. I really hope open bodybuilding will change because man, we lost so many of the good guys, the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
it's a
It's
shame. It's like the biggest shame is that when you see it, it's like
Mhm.
the shock reaction is shorter and shorter because you're like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
because it
like
happens. The heart attacks are so often now
yeah,
that
yeah,
people are like, okay, they make the reaction video, right? It's 2 days on YouTube, and then the next day everybody forgets about it.
yeah.
I didn't forget about it. I did
No,
a CT scan yesterday, dude.
yeah,
you know, I keep doing this, just to make sure that I'm healthy, and that everybody that I care about is healthy, and I'm sure you do the same thing. But
for sure.
I really hope that these guys from the 90s and 2000s, and even the guys that like Jordan Peters, for example, I
Yeah,
think he could change the fitness industry with one podcast if he did organ
Jordan.
imaging.
Yeah, I'm actually part of. Well, I subscribed to his forum like a
Right.
few years ago already, 2019. Because there's a lot of knowledge on there, and on the forum is a lot of transparency regarding
Mhm.
everything everybody does and how they deal with the health ramifications. And I do think when that gets out more and more, I mean,
Mhm.
that's going to change a lot because you're right. Examples will set the example. So
Yeah.
big role models like him, because even though he says he doesn't want to compete anymore, if you look at his videos, if you look at his
He's
size, it's
still
just,
pushing. He's still
yeah.
pushing.
Even the
Yeah.
even the most successful professional bodybuilders who look at him can be inspired by what he's doing. And
Him and
yeah,
Dante Trudell, I think we could change the sport, but Dante Trudell doesn't really
mhm.
want to do podcasts. My
Yeah, he's
ultimate goal is to my ultimate goal is to get Dante Trudell on a podcast, and then I can retire. It might take another 20 years. That's my ultimate goal. But I think if guys like these are a little bit more open and transparent about the risks, because, well, let's be honest, most of the pro bodybuilders will go to Dante with their health problems.
hmm
Everybody goes to Dante, and Jordan Peters as well, right? Because he's
yeah,
he's lived it. He's lived it
yeah,
at the highest level. So, but on the downside is the audience sometimes is so brutal. So I can understand why they don't want to do it. Like when I opened up about my non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? You go to some of the comment sections, people talk about, oh, you should follow Vigorous Steve. He has got good content. And then there will always be a comment, always be some token guy that said, don't listen to Steve because he had NAFLD. The difference is that I opened up about it.
Yeah. And a
That's
lot
the
of people might
difference.
also have it, but you never know. Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't do the imaging, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Steve doesn't know because he's small. He never competed. Well, maybe I wanted to quit while I was ahead, right? So I think if the audience gets a little bit more aware and respectful, and when guys do slim down, just encourage them. Don't say, he looks like shit now, because it's the ultimate end goal for everybody to
Yeah.
have to slim down or we die.
Exactly.
You can't stay juicy forever.
It's a fantasy. Like the problem is almost everybody who wants to be a bodybuilder, who wants to gain muscle, they want to make that their identity. That's who they are.
Yeah.
And they, like, when you grow up, when you're small and you're thinking about what you want to be when you grow up, you don't think about what you want to be after you have grown up. You think about that image, and that's who you are. So you are like the He-Man, or you are that action hero. But that's in reality, in real life, it's unsustainable to be that. You can live through it for a while and actively try to keep that image alive. But in reality, you have to downsize because the body isn't made for this. It's not made for it.
Oh, right.
You're battling against evolution, literally. Like, your body is expending so much energy, and the organs are like literally saying, this is too much. Yeah, exactly. We don't want to provide this much to this such an enormous body, because if you think about it, if you're like 280 pounds in nature, or you were dropped in the nature like 3,000 years ago as a 280-pound bodybuilder, I mean, how quickly would you perish? I mean, it's like 2 hours. In like 2 hours, you would have to find like an entire animal, and that you would have the stamina to hunt for, to kill, to prepare, and then you would have to eat every 2 hours to maintain that mass. I mean, it's so unnatural to be that big.
Yeah, bodybuilders don't even run for the bus. They say, I'll take the next
No,
one.
exactly.
No, it's very unpractical. So it's kind of luxurious that we can do this in modern times, but it's highly unpractical. So you're going to retire at 35. Are you going to be like me, that every year after 35, that it's very difficult to give it up and you still want to bodybuild secretly? Like, for me, it's like a transition outwards. It's probably going to take a multitude of years. So when I was 35, I think that was my last, was that 35, maybe 36, when I was 255 pounds. The decent cycle, insulin, growth hormone, all that stuff, a lot of food, a lot of heavy training, right? And then after that, I got diagnosed with that issue, the NAFLD. And after that, it's slowly been steps back, steps back, steps back. But it's very hard to let go completely. Like now well, I was doing ACG monotherapy, but my ACG wasn't really working. So my testosterone levels are right now 230 nanograms per deciliter, below the reference range. And I still go to the gym and kick ass. I still eat the bodybuilding meals. I don't want to stop. I take less PEDs, but I don't want to stop the bodybuilding thing. So how do you see yourself, like that transition phase of 35, done with competing, and then how do you see yourself stepping back over time?
So this year is actually the year where exactly for half of my life I've been training. So after this year, I have achieved a milestone of more than half of my life I've been this kind of person. So then you truly are most of your life identified as someone who is striving to be big, strong as a bodybuilder. But at the same time, and that's the luxury that I've achieved quite a lot naturally too. So I'm actually curious, when I totally stop being, well, I'm never going to totally stop, but when I stop being competitive, how much will be left? How will my body change? And yeah, what can I get away with? So,
Right.
of course, eating 6 times a day won't be practical later. So you're only going to
Forget
eat a
about it.
few times a day. You're going to work out less. You're going to work out with less weight for less amount of time per workout, less volume.
Mhm.
So when that is being done for like a year, how much there be left? And what's the true foundation of my physique? That is
Right.
something that I'm actually curious about, because right now I'm doing a lot of effort to maintain what I have right now. And when I then look at like a big Rami, I'm like, whoa, they must be incredibly, first of all, genetically gifted to have that much muscle. Because I know the effort that I put into it to even have this amount of muscle, and he, with his
Yeah.
height, has like 50 pounds more.
Yeah.
So it's just literally unbelievable.
Crazy.
But yeah, I do welcome that transition, and that I say now and don't know how I'm going to react then. But of course, then I will have 2 children who will be at the end of in the middle of elementary school. So I think my life will be very different, with all different kind of focus on different
Mm.
things, and that will make it maybe easier. But the stories that I
Or you
hear
could be
about
a
bodybuilders,
so
yeah,
I think you can be a soccer dad. The kids go to sports, and then,
yeah,
you go with them to play, whatever sport they want to do, and then you kind
yeah,
of, keep the sports passion going, but it's not as
exactly.
extreme on your end. Yeah, I always told
Whatever,
myself that I was going to take a huge step back when I had kids. So we don't have kids yet, but we're planning in the next
yeah,
2 years or so, and then I'm just gonna do TRT, and
yeah,
go to the gym three
precisely.
times a week. My YouTube channel presence would have been big enough by that
Mm-hmm.
time, right? So you can kind of feed off your, whatever you've built by that time,
Yeah.
and then maybe transition. You need an exit policy. So I would
Mm-hmm.
transition more into finance, a little bit more business
Mm-hmm.
orientated. How to set things up, and and still talk about TRT related stuff and anti-aging, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
be a hardcore bodybuilding channel anymore, because right, I'm taking a step back from that slowly but
Mm-hmm.
surely. And I think for you, you could transition out of it also. Just
Yeah.
you go another direction, and then you just have to follow a different kind of passion to fill that gap that you're leaving behind.
Yeah, there's something that might have some potential, is voice acting, that I might want to do later
Yeah,
on
you
for like
could. Yeah.
superhero animation movies, or like
Uh-huh.
trailer movies, trailers for movies. And
Right.
with some practice, I think I could make a career out of it. I've
I think so.
there's too many people who have tried to make it happen already, that I think
Mhm.
it will be a waste of an opportunity if I never gave it a shot. So yeah,
So if when my kids are watching like a Batman Beyond, and you'll play the
yeah.
Joker, the new Joker, or
Yes.
what it is, I used to have that guy on the podcast. That would be so freaking cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that will be very awesome. So I already know that would be something very viable for me to do, because it's
Mm,
fun, it's amazing,
right.
and it's also something that is within me, that is like an innate talent that I have. That's just, I was born with it, just like genetics for bodybuilding might be
Right.
able to do something with the voice. So yeah, that's always on the table, and who knows what happens in these couple of years. Just
Yeah,
like you say,
that's
you're
true.
building something now, and whatever comes out of that, you build on top of that again in a slightly different direction. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm.
you might have the
There's a
biggest
lot of
gym
things to look
chain
forward
in
to.
you might have the biggest gym
Yeah,
chain in Holland. Who knows?
yeah,
Vintage gyms, for example. Yeah, you
that
never
too.
know.
That will never stop either. That's also going to be a passion. It's like designing the gym without even thinking about training there yourself. Like the design
Mm,
aspect is also fun, to
right.
make sure that everybody's happy with the machines, that there's enough space, the atmosphere that needs to be nice, and the marketing around it. How are you going to market yourself there? That's also fun. So there's a
Make
lot
it
of things to look forward to.
I did some advising, in my consultancy days, and I advise guys here that open up gyms. Try to make it a place where people want to hang out,
Yeah.
because the gym membership only gets you so much. So if you have like a
Yeah.
little Starbucks in there with coffee, protein
Mm,
shakes,
yeah.
meals, a place where people can do their work, they will just keep spending money
Yeah.
on provisions, right? On a little bit of food, a little bit of protein shakes. Make an area where that's very high social media worthy, so
Yes,
people want
I
to take
will.
pictures for you, right? So you
Yeah.
have like an H squat, for example. That's a perfect Instagram post money making machine. People will take a picture on the H squat or whatever unique piece of equipment you have, and then they will post it on social media to do the promotion for you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think this will already generate a lot of revenue, because memberships, that you have to be competitive. But if you
Yeah.
get people there and stay there and spend money, like that's what I learned from Oxygen Gym and Bino's Gym. They have like a whole food court inside. And
Yeah.
people hang out the whole day there. They go to the sauna, they come back, they have a meal, they go do a
Yeah.
massage at one of the massage places, which is part of the gym. They come back, have another meal, or they do meal prep service. And that way they generate a lot more revenue on top of the
Yeah.
membership.
That's like the ultimate example of what's possible with a gym. They already did it. It's like
Yeah.
that's the ultimate example of what you can do with a gym that you own. Like if you think about the future, just look at them,
Mhm.
and that's the possibility. That's
Yeah.
like the horizon, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of possible within that. So yeah, I thought about that as well. And regarding social media, if you want to attract also some of the influencers, the lighting needs to be perfect, the background needs to be nice, needs to be very vlog oriented. So people, when they record, they're like, "Whoa, I look good," so they want to stay
Yeah.
there. So stuff like that is also
Exactly.
very important. Yeah.
At the Muscle Factory here, we used to have like a yellow light, like similar to the light I have now, and it makes you look washed out. So
Yeah.
I asked
Yeah.
them, how much does it change to change the lights? So I got a quote, and I was like, yeah, pay it. So I changed all of the lights in
Yeah.
Muscle Factory Bangkok to represent the one in Pattaya, which has much better lighting. And now it's like very social media friendly. So when I record video in there, you actually look jacked, right? And the
Yes.
lighting is nice and you have good shadows. But before that time, you didn't really feel like recording. And then the owner
No,
said, like, yeah,
exactly.
but, and the owner was bitching. And now it's like it turned into a tripod gym, because you put tripods everywhere because people are recording all of their workouts. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of opportunity in gyms. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but yeah, that's very easy to persuade him. I mean, the only thing you have to say is the more your gym is being filmed, the more it's going to
Mhm.
be out there, and the more people will
Yeah,
know it. So it's only a positive for the owner.
absolutely. No, he's very happy with it. But just he's a
Yeah,
hardcore bodybuilder himself. He competed at the World Championships also, so he likes
nice.
that nitty gritty feeling. And
Oh
when I
yeah,
was young, when I was younger, nobody had cell phones in the gym.
yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna let you go. It's been 3 hours. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time, man.
Of course.
It's an honor to talk to you. It's very inspiring what you've accomplished in Holland. I had to
Thank you.
leave to accomplish something similar. And where can people find you, man? What are your social media links?
So check me out on YouTube. As I said, way more videos coming at Vintage Genetics, and on Instagram, Wesley Vissers, and the website vintagegenetics.com for the clothing, workout plans, nutrition plans, and coaching. And yeah, those are the places you can get in touch with me, find me, and check me out. So yeah,
Thanks so much, Wesley. It was an honor to have you on, and I hope to do this again soon. Have a good trip
yeah.
home.
Thank you
I'm
very
looking
much.
forward to the content from Vienna.
Yes, me too. Actually, I'm very curious what it looks like.
Awesome, awesome.
All
Take care,
right,
buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
you. See you.
Take care.
Bye.
Ciao.